Good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of the Ulysses Town Board. I will call this meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. on June 9th, 2026. May we please have a roll call?
Yes. Miss Olson?
Present.
Mr. Manley?
Present.
Miss Weatherby?
Present.
Mr. Boggs?
Present.
Miss Tate?
Present.
Mr. Stewart?
Present.
Okay, thank you very much. We had an agenda that was posted last week. In addition, I would like to request two items to be added under new business. They would become new business items B and C. B would be surplus equipment. We previously had this resolution in April, but we had to not pick it up because Scott wasn't able to join us, and so I'd like to pick it back up tonight. And then I would also like to give the board an update from a meeting I had just at 5:30 this afternoon. And so item C, I would like to include the rec partnership contract update discussion. Are there any other alterations or changes anyone would like to see? Took a motion to approve as amended. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have privilege of the floor at that first. Or just adopt it. We have 3 minutes per person on any topic you want, and we will keep public. Oh, Liz is going to be my timekeeper today. Thank you, because it is stressful to do. We just adopted a 20-minute maximum, roughly. So is there anybody, we'll go back and forth in person and online. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board? Please go ahead.
Where?
Right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Sarah Adams, Football Street, Twinsburg. I'm here tonight to speak about process and what I feel is lack of transparency. The following comments are related to item 5B on tonight's agenda. After the closure of the public hearing on May 26th, the supervisor presented multiple, as many as 59 resolutions related to changes in the draft comprehensive plan. Why weren't these presented prior to closing the public hearing, and why were they not made available to the public at the May 26th meeting? Apparently, the town board did not get these prior to the meeting either. The above process is not a good way to amend a document as important as the comp plan for the next 20 years. We strongly object to conducting public business in this manner and urge the town board to delay on voting on these resolutions until a completed draft plan with these changes is incorporated into it and can be made available to both the elected officials and the public at large. My other related to that, I kind of feel like I've been coming to these meetings month after month, and we've been having some good exchanges, but I don't understand why that suddenly. I mean, they say they're editorial, but honestly, who in the public is going to go, has the ability to even go through those resolutions and make all of these additions and changes? It's just not a fair way to do it and to be public and open about it. I'm sorry. My other comments are to tonight's agenda 6.A. Why is the town applying for a grant to update the zoning code under the 2026 Smart Growth Comprehensive Planning Program when the housing study action recommended in the comp plan has not even been initiated? The proposal for professional services from MRB are dated May 18th, prior to the closure of the public hearing. Clearly, this was initiated prior to concluding the public process. Is there an RFP? What is the scope of the grant and what are the town's goals? Have they already been predetermined? Why is the town automatically contracting with the MRB? The recent experience with these consultants in their role as consultant for the comp plan suggests that we should at least have a second proposal from a different consultant. Again, I believe the grant contract is being rushed through with insufficient information and with little to no effort to inform the public. What is the value of this grant to the town? without first completing the housing study. Please postpone signing any contract with MRB for this 2026 grant application. There'll be other opportunities. We're not ready yet. And please slow down the approval of a comp plan document that has had numerous changes made to it. A final draft comp plan must be prepared with all proposed changes provided in these resolutions prior to a final vote to accept the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to clarify, the public hearing is not closed. We tabled it at our last meeting. We didn't close it. So we're not reopening it tonight, but it was not closed. It was tabled. So the public comment period is still open. So feel free to
But it's
write.
not on here.
We don't have to reopen it tonight. We will reopen it again before we close it. We have not closed it.
Well, but where would I know that? If I couldn't stay till the end of the meeting, how would I even know that? That's part of the problem. The public doesn't.
Excuse me,
know.
thank you. Actually, it was in the town newsletter that went out on Friday, which has a reception audience of well over 1,000 people. So,
That's my mistake. Thank you.
okay, is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? It looks like Bob Howarth has raised his hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My name's Bob Howarth, live in Reynolds Road in town of Ulysses. For those of you who don't know me, I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 11 years until just 2 years ago. And I was the chair for 5 years. I'm an environmental scientist. I'm an expert on nutrient pollution from agriculture and sewage, on water quality and harmful algal blooms. And I've previously provided comments on the Comprehensive Plan Committee on 5 occasions since last November. I wasn't able to come to your last board meeting, but I provided comments there in detail, and I really urge you to take a look. But for tonight, let me stress 2 issues with the land use map and the current draft comp plan. First, I'm deeply concerned with the new proposed medium density residential category, which is in bright orange on the proposed land use map. Some of this is within the state and county approved ag district. And although the density in the new proposed district is not described in the plan refers to duplexes and triplexes, and earlier drafts of the plan indicated an extraordinarily high density for single-family homes as well. The description of the plan states the land, the categories for areas, quote, currently served or anticipated to be served by public water and or sewer facilities, end of quote. In fact, most of the land on the map is not currently served by sewer facilities, and much of it is not served by public water. There are major legal and economic challenges to providing water and sewer in this area. I'd be happy to talk with you further about that. I'm also concerned with the low density residential category. The plan describes the purpose of this category as to provide for housing and complementary uses at a low density residential scale in areas generally outside of Tompkins County Agricultural District 2. And not currently served or anticipated to be served by public water and or sewer facilities. You need to know that in fact most of the lands on the map before you in the draft comp plan are in fact in the agricultural district. So that just does not work. I strongly urge the town board to remove both of those districts from the plan. And just a little bit of background. I am an expert in this area. I've consulted on wastewater disposal from conventional and non-conventional sewer systems for the New York Department of Health, the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, the City of New York's Department of Environmental Protection, as well as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And the plan does an extraordinarily poor job of talking through these issues. So I really urge you not to adopt the plan, get more information. As an expert and a member of the town for 40 years, I'd be delighted to sit down and discuss it with you in more detail if you like. 3 minutes at these soundbite moments is not a great opportunity, but nonetheless, I appreciate the opportunity and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Perfect timing too.
Excellent. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board? Please go ahead.
Good evening, Roxanne Marino, 4124 Reynolds Road. I wanted to speak to the new business item 6A on tonight's agenda, Smart Growth Comprehensive Planning Program Grant Application for Zoning Code Update and the accompanying resolution to authorize a contract with MRB Group. Therein, it is clearly laid out that, quote, it is the primary goal of the updated comprehensive plan to revise the town zoning and development ordinances and zoning map to align with the comprehensive plan's land use and development recommendations. The public has been commenting on aspects of the draft plan and in particular concerns with aspects of the future land use map and the chapter for months, both to the comp plan steering committee and more recently at the town board's public hearings on May 12th and 26th, and were at times assured that a zoning update is way off and that a detailed housing study will be the first priority. And in fact, I have spoken to board members individually, one of whom's that. But the request for a proposal from MRB to assist with a grant application to conduct this zoning update was made in May, just as the board was beginning discussions of the draft received from the steering committee and the process to solicit input from the public, the county, and the markets. Tompkins County is currently updating their housing strategy this year, and it would seem a logical and cost-effective collaborative opportunity for the town to begin our housing needs study first as a key component to inform a town-wide project of a zoning update. Difficult to see why the rush to apply for this grant right now to begin work on changing the zoning next year when there is still much to consider with regard to the environmental impacts of the current plan. The costs for building housing and infrastructure are high and unpredictable right now, and the town has several other large grant projects and state funding in the works already and limited staff time for supporting more. Perhaps if we're going to apply for a grant in this consolidated funding cycle, we could look at opportunities in the Climate Smart Communities program for something smaller. For example, to develop a climate vulnerability assessment and flood risk reduction plan. This is an action item in our draft plan that would directly help inform areas of highest risk where denser development should be minimized and where natural resource protection should be prioritized as a mitigation strategy. I respectfully urge the board not to go forward with this authorization for MRB to prepare a grant for a zoning update based on the draft plan, which the town will need to have adopted by early September to qualify for consideration of the funding. A process that takes the time to build an information base and public consensus on the smartest and best fit growth strategy for our town honors and strengthens our community, our environment, and our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, please go ahead.
So, Rich Goldman, 5664 Pine Ridge Road. So I just want to reiterate my support for what everybody, Robert and Roxanne and Sarah have said. I believe that it is critical that we get this right for the future of our town. And what is the rush? Why don't we take our time as everybody else? So we have experts in this community. Bob is one of them. Rebecca Schneider is another one. She spoke in the last meeting. Steve Moriali is another one. We are fortunate to have people who are respected around the globe in these areas. And I find listening to these conversations that they really don't get heard. They don't get taken into account, that their points are never discussed. So I'm fully supportive of slowing this process down, not voting on any resolutions tonight, and really coming to terms with what the economic impact and the environmental impact are of doing such a radical shift in the zoning map. So I support them wholeheartedly, and I hope you'll follow through with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board? Okay, is there anybody else online who wishes to address the town board? Okay. We can move on. Municipal board. Shirley.
Yeah,
Oh, please go ahead.
I raised my hand a little late. I apologize. Shirley Brown, I live at 5664 Pine Ridge Road. I want to express I agree with everything that's been said so far tonight. And I'm sorry I don't have my camera on. It's not working on my computer at the moment. But what I want to express is the experience as a citizen of this community, someone who loves this community, someone who has felt that our town board has up until recently been something that I could rely on, that they were listening to the community, that they were following the guidance of the community. It's been my experience in coming to numerous comprehensive plan committee meetings, as well as these town board meetings, that that there's like a perfunctory thing happening. We're going to listen to you. We're going to hear what you have to say, but we're not actually going to take what you have to say as something that's really vitally important. And like Rich just said, you're dealing with people in this community who are global experts. And I just don't understand how we could afford to not listen to people who are being listened to by national, like by countries around the world, by major cities around the world that are being paid for to come and consult with them about the issues that they're bringing up here in our community, and they're offering it at no charge. And there just seems to be a sort of, even some of the people in this room tonight, as the people who were speaking, they're dealing with other things. They're looking at other people, talking to people, instead of listening attentively, instead of even trying to pretend that what is being said is really important. And I'm sorry if this sounds aggressive because it's upsetting. As someone who's not participated in these activities, and I was actually considering at some point, maybe I'll join one of the boards. Maybe I'll get involved. I love doing research. I love noodling down to find out things, to figure out what's the truth behind things. It's one of the things that I do and have done pretty much my whole life. But I have to say that I'm so turned off by the process that the experience of not being listened to, not being, that there just seems to be a lack of respect for people who have a lot of knowledge, of people who have a lot of experience, and people who know more than you do, frankly. Many of you on the board, they know more than you know. They have more experience than you have. Why would you not be engaging with them? And I don't mean to say they know more than you, they have more experience, to say that I don't respect that you've stepped up to be on the town board, because I do respect that. I think it's a service to the community, and I appreciate that service is there, that you do that you give that. I know it takes a lot of hours, a lot of time. I have no idea all the time and hours it takes for you. But I really do hope that you will slow down, you'll listen, you'll stop, and you'll take into consideration the input that you've gotten over and over and over again about slow the plan down. It's not
Thank
just
you.
tonight.
Thank you, Shirley. Your 3 minutes passed about 15 seconds ago, so I just wanted to.
Yep, it's good.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in person who wishes to address the town board? Okay. Looks like Nancy would like to speak. Please go ahead.
Unmute. Now can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. Sorry. I just came in from the garden, so I know I look a little red in the face here. I just would reiterate what everyone else said. Please slow down. I mentioned that on May 12th. Please go through each section of that comp plan. Take a meeting to do each section. There's no reason to apply for this grant right away. There's no rush. I reiterate what everyone else has already said. And I ask you to listen to the people who are speaking, because what Shirley said resonates with me. We sound like we say the same things over and over again, and you guys go along and do your business as if you didn't even hear us. So that's all I want to say. I don't need 3 minutes. Please listen to the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, please go ahead. Chris, can you come off mute? Sorry, we can't hear you, Chris.
Can you hear me now?
Sure can.
Okay. Sorry, I had a long day in the heat. I'm Chris Kale from 3110 Du Bois Road. Again, in the slowdown department, I would like to add my voice to everybody else's. I agree with everything everyone else has said. In particular, I'm concerned that there's not a good understanding of what the agriculture district law does and how it works. I had the opportunity, I was at the county environmental something and something committee meeting But it is where properties are added to the ag district. And Crystal Buck, who's the staff to the ag district, was putting a farm that it's in Danby, but it's very important that it gets protection. And, again, these protections are there for a reason. There have been some statements made. I checked back with Crystal on them. Definitely houses are potential farm sites. There are farms in Ulysses that started from a house. There are farms that are a quarter of an acre or less. So no, the fact that there are houses along an area and that the tax parcel is being put forward by the Department of Assessment as having a greater value as a residence than a farm does not mean that we're not protecting those valuable farmland soils. And by we, I mean the state, because not getting a lot around here. The other thing is, as regards this year's grant cycle, I've been coming to the town board meetings for about 2 years, asking that you put in a grant to get a hydrology study for the town so that you put the housing in a place that doesn't flood people down the hill. Hope you might listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who hasn't had a chance to speak in either in person or online who wishes to address the board? Looks like all the hands up are already folks who've spoken. Okay. We will move on. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. We will move on to municipal board and staff reports and announcements. Staff reports were posted in the meeting materials and in the town newsletter last Friday. Rachel's county report was provided. She wasn't able to attend tonight, but she said if anybody has any questions, she's happy to answer those. What's going on in committee land?
Well, Three Falls is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Planning board last week was canceled and zoning is next week. So I don't have any updates on any of those. Youth Commission, we had a meeting last week. We had a lot of discussions about the rec partnership and the value to the town. There's a really good discussion. We didn't come up with a decision on,
No,
I think there's more information that's needed.
Yeah, I think we left it with the wanting more information, which I think we'll hear, and also our role in that group may be different than our role sitting here, right? As making recommendations for the youth of the town might be different than the budget line items that are needed to support or move around those recommendations. So I think we sort of left our deep dive into the positives of that program and the benefits, as well as the challenges and the growth in town areas that may duplicate or replicate some currently existing programs, and the dollars and support and how that flows together. So I think it was a good conversation, ended needing some more information and also recognizing our role may be different in that conversation than final decisions here.
Yeah, we also didn't have the full group.
Yeah.
So it was hard to have.
June is awful.
Yeah.
June is awful if you have young people in your life.
Yeah.
So
it's wonderful.
I mean, it's awesome. It's wonderful.
And terrible for
and hard for
and terrible for
yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna keep this conversation going. We did get confirmation from the county that we just need to provide even if we signed a new contract, then it happens to be a 5-year contract, which is what I believe their typical contracts are. As long as we give them 18 months, we can pull out at any time. So I know the contract has to get signed. I think it's up next June.
It's up. No, it's
End
through
of next year?
2027. If we want to be out in 2028, we have to let them know by the end of this month.
Okay. That's 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, all of 27, half of 26.
So And if we can't make the decision, because the youth commission's not meeting again until end of August
Right.
with you to talk through budgets.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to have a bigger discussion with the board.
I think the village is gonna be discussing it at their next village board meeting
Okay.
on the 22nd. I'd like to discuss it a little bit tonight and
Sure.
get whatever questions you have, so we can get questions answered to the best of our ability. And so we can do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any other, we had staff training, staff and board elected and staff and public official training on Thursday. From my perspective, it went really well. I think I was hopefully useful for everybody who attended. We had great participation from the board members, from planning board, board of zoning appeals, town board, and all of our staff participated. So it was you missed, if you weren't on the staff, you missed a really, really fun project that we did where we were broken into teams based on our strengths, and then you had to build the tallest tower you could build with a box of spaghetti, but not the box, according to some people, but some people used it. A thing of tape and a container of tape and big marshmallows, and I am very pleased to publicly announce that Casey's team was the winner and my team stunk the most. So I was very proud of their creativity, and it was all the way up into the ceiling. It's not still there, but it was in this room. They did a great job.
I saw some spaghetti that night when we were.
We tried to clean it up. I'm sorry, we didn't
like,
get
"Who's eating
everything.
spaghetti?"
I was very impressed by the training, and I mean, it's training and about law and expectations, so to bring in case law at one point, diving into like how judges, as my social studies teacher self, we do this in class too, how judges make law. In fact, there was, I could sense, I was on Zoom, but I could sense someone went, wait, that's not what I, was thinking, and how case law is settled law about, that answers questions that were unwritten. I thought that was well presented and well managed as people were learning in real time.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. And if you ever have feedback or things you'd like to see in the staff training in the future or in the training in the future, we try to incorporate, issues that are pertinent to us. That's the benefit of in-person training versus, just some, online training that meets the state requirements, but doesn't actually, speak necessarily deeply to our community. So, any other updates anybody wanted? Roxanne, if you wanted to give, or sorry, you're in the room. If you have any updates from CSAC, please go ahead.
Yeah. No, the May meeting of our community conservation sustainability advisory was a joint meeting with all the other ACs and task forces, climate smart communities task force, which we are for this town. At Stewart Park, they do it once a year, the EMC organized it, and I was out of town, so I wasn't able to attend, but we're gonna, I have a written report, we have a meeting tomorrow night, so we'll be talking about that. And, I think there's a few other things on the agenda. But, yeah, and we have a few new people who are potentially interested in the committee, so we'll talk about that some more.
Great.
You can bring their names to the board if they need to remain interested. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. I mean, I guess I'll just say there's a lot of interest in things like climate vulnerability assessment and things, and heard from them. The climate smart community coordinator, that there's opportunities potentially, so we're looking into that. Some of you can bring that information to the board, and there's information in some of the energy things that City of Ithaca is trying to do. We're just discussing them because some of it's on hold with now because of state actions anyway, but committee members are just interested in I also went to a webinar for the tree committee on there's no one else can go on the potential for a grant application to do a survey of invasive species in the town, like Salem Habitat and other properties. And so I'll bring that information back to them. They want to consider that further and bring it up to the town board if they can. But anyway, it would be good, but it might not be something we could have to do it's very helpful, and you also can ask for a plan to, maintain those natural areas. And no funds to actually do it, just. You know, it's better than nothing.
It's half the battle.
Yeah, exactly. No, it really is, because to get expertise, you have to get like certified experts and things, and so that gives you money for that. So anyway, that's what I.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other updates anybody wants to make related to town activities?
We have a finance committee meeting the other week, and we'll carry on with those conversations right here as we present our numbers and plans.
Great. Thank you for that reminder, and those notes were in the board packet. Okay, then, what I'd like to do, because we have Blixie here and, Scott here, I'm hoping we can pull up all items related to both of them, and just go through those right now, so that they don't have to stick around for everything. Highway Department gets up very early in the morning. And Blixie has other things to do also.
So that's,
So I'd like to, we'll start with the highway plan, but then we can, I think it'd be nice to, while she's here, just from, talk a little bit about the grant application, because that's related to our town budget. And payment of audited claims, and then that item also the surplus, equipment and the rec partnership contract. We'll probably could wait on the rec partnership contract update.
There are no budget modifications.
And there are no budget. Yep. So none this week. Next meeting.
Next meeting.
So highway capital plan.
I actually made a
Larger
larger
copy, yeah.
copy, so you can see it. Good. I have trouble.
I printed a small
Myself?
version for you, but
Oh, look at you. Let me do that. Sorry, I'm going slow.
okay.
Oh, did you not want to see?
I got two. Oh, they're stapled. It's been a long time.
Congratulations, how you still on that. And
Okay.
so this is an update from the last time you viewed the plan. And Scott, I don't know if you want to highlight the major changes, or if you want me to just walk through how the sheet works first. I guess I'm asking folks. I don't have a copy of the old one, but we can talk about what the differences are. Let me just tell you though how this is laid out first. So the equipment that's on here, this highway equipment capital plan, these are just the large, big pieces of equipment that have, defined useful lives and need to be replaced and have a big impact on the budget. So that's what you're seeing here in the list. Then as you go to the right, the first column that goes, down below the equipment line, and there's a blue block. This is our adopted budget for 2026, and it's kind of our baseline. So what you see here is what we adopted in our budget, and then up above that is what we think is actually going to happen this year. In terms of equipment sales and equipment purchase costs, and these align with the resolution for the equipment disposals that we're asking for approval, these 5 yellow items. And the way that the plan is structured is that the overall investment in tax dollars within this fund, the DEA fund, this piece of it wouldn't increase more than 3% a year. So that you would either fund reserves or use reserves to stabilize how much money has to be contributed each year from tax dollars. So that helps kind of avoid this up and down budget fluctuation when a large piece of equipment needs to be purchased. The other thing with this particular plan is that there's no financing recommended here. We feel that this is a plan that works without it. And a big reason for that is what Scott is going to go into in terms of sort of a different approach, because we're no longer performing the snow removal on county roads. And so therefore some of our equipment needs have changed. Mm-hmm. So if you would like to go, Scott, kind of through what you have proposed here and what your plan is, that would be great.
Yeah, the only thing that really changed for this year is I'm gonna sell more equipment. Everything else is the same. Um, next year, what we really need to do is we need to start focusing more on the DPW side of the highway department. So that's why I moved up like zero turn mowers and a skid steer, because a skid steer, we can use it for pretty much anything and everything. And it can replace a couple of our equipments that we're selling this year.
We don't have a skid steer.
We do not have a skid steer. So that I moved up. I moved up some of the zero turns. I didn't really change much else. I pushed out the bigger trucks because, like Lixie said, I mean, we don't need to have as big a fleet as we did before, because we're not doing the county roads, snow and ice removal. So that helps a lot as far as our future planning with buying trucks and stuff. So this capital plan actually is a lot better than it was last year. It's like Lixie did a good job with everything.
So I think one of the biggest things, and I apologize for not bringing the old plan so you could compare it, but one of the biggest changes is that in 2027, we were looking at having to replace a large truck, a large piece of equipment. And instead, we're actually selling this Volvo T21, and we're not replacing it.
Yeah.
Because Scott doesn't need to replace it, not having to do that additional work. So instead, he's feeling that the skid steer is much more valuable and important for the department. And it's something that we can afford without having to finance something. And so one of the big challenges is that this large equipment, especially these big trucks, it's hard to predict how much they're going to cost. The prices are wildly high. The lead times are very, very long. I'm sorry.
Does the trailer for the Mini X with the skid steer fit on it?
That's gonna be my question too.
Yes, it will.
So we don't need a new trailer.
Well, it'd be good if we did have two trailers.
Yeah, I see you have a second trailer.
Yeah.
It's just
But it will,
concerned
yes. It will fit on there, yes.
So you will be able to move
Yeah.
it as soon as you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. So the first really big piece of equipment that's proposed on here is really this is the trade-in of the loader, right? In 2029.
2029.
I'm
Yes,
sorry, I'm
that's,
jumping around a little bit, but and with
Yeah.
those pieces of equipment, you have a trade-in plan, right?
yes,
So that the actual
Okay.
net cost is
Yeah.
not as high as it seems, but it keeps your repairs down, right? Because
Mhm.
you're basically
Yes.
getting a new piece of equipment before you have to start spending a lot of money on it.
right.
And then the next truck that you're buying in 2028,
So
yes, it would. Mhm. Yes, because we decided that it could be traded. What's that?
5 years early.
Yes, yeah. The other big piece of equipment is this medium truck. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the types of trucks that you're going to be purchasing that are more
Which
efficient or
one now?
effective for what you're doing?
The medium truck.
The 2028 purchase is a medium truck.
Oh, that's gonna replace my superintendent truck.
But they
So,
do a lot there. It's not
Yeah,
just
they
a
do, yeah, so I get like a
pickup truck.
2,500 or a 1-ton pickup truck, and I can plow with it, I can tow stuff, I can put the spreader in it for the saw. I mean, anything that I buy has multiple uses. Whereas before, it seemed like we had a piece of equipment that just sat there for, whenever we needed it.
Trade off.
Yeah.
Great,
So-
oh, great, oh.
So now I'm trying to buy things that, I can utilize many things with it, so. And we can use those as a backup too, if one of our bigger trucks goes down.
So on the second page, which just carries out the years further, right, is the first replacement of a big truck. And that's kind of far out. I mean, not far out, but far out into the future. Where, we are estimating a $450,000 price tag, but who knows?
Yeah.
But we felt that it was important to at least put it in the plan to see how it affected the reserves and the cash needed to make a purchase like that, hopefully without having to do financing. And it does seem to work, but it's hard to predict what will happen. Right now, what I'm hearing from other highway departments is that number one, you can't buy a whole truck with all equipment anymore. You have to buy the chassis separate, pay for it up front, and then it sits while they add the snow removal equipment on it.
Oh, now they're
So-
not, oh, I see.
So it may still be a 2-year lead time,
Yeah.
but you have to invest some funds up front and then. So I haven't seen it happen yet, but that seems to be what's gonna be happening in this next year. And I'll be watching how it works with the other highway departments I work with, so,
Yeah, because the cabin chassis usually doesn't take long.
no.
The snow.
The snow equipment,
Yeah.
that has a big lead time, and I think the dealers that are selling the cabin chassis are gonna require that you purchase that
Mhm.
first. And then
Right.
wait. So the whole pattern of how cash flow works might change,
Mhm.
but I'm not 100% clear about that yet. But certainly there's a 2-year lead time right now is what I'm hearing.
Oh,
So,
yeah, easy.
And that with that 2-year lead time, you're saying for the upfront, that would need to be done at the
you
2
might have to
years?
spend about half of it
So then
for
that
the
would
2
be
years.
2030, not 2029, sorry.
So if
Can't
you
do my
needed
math
to
right.
have it in 2031,
You need to back.
you'd need to back up your order of it. To
Keep
2029, right, in order to have it.
Okay.
And that's assuming things haven't changed. again by
Who
then.
knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
So the farther you go out, it's really hard to say what it's gonna look like. But you're pretty confident at this point that in the next,
Oh,
3
yeah.
years or so, this is what you need
Yep.
to operate effectively. And I wanted to see how it worked long term with the cash and the reserve to make sure that, we were funding the reserve enough in the years where our purchases were smaller so that we would have enough funds available. So the other thing in this plan that's a little different that I wanted to point out to you, as you know, we've been looking at fund balance policy and some of our funds have had excess unreserved, unappropriated fund balance. And in the DA fund where this equipment is purchased from is one of them. And after we closed the books in 2025, we had quite a bit. I think it was maybe 150,000 of fund balance that was in excess of our policy. And so you'll see that use of fund balance is added in over time with the intent of using it for these one-time purchase items or funding the reserve, either way. So that we're trying to get back into policy, but doing it planfully. So that's one of the approaches that we're recommending. And so part of the reason this reserve can be funded at the rate that it is also this use of fund balance of $25,000 that we're looking at adding each year. And that could be adjusted as we go through the budget each year and we see what we really have. But this is just a way to kind of look at how does that work down the road. And then by 2031, that money is used up. Assuming we don't accumulate more,
Mhm.
but that's the idea, is to actually utilize the excess fund balance to fund a plan that makes sense long-term in terms of fiscal planning, so. Those are, I guess, the key elements of this, and if, looking at the bottom line, which is the equipment reserve balance, it dips a little low in the years where we're making a large truck purchase. But they're kind of far out and it's hard to know what will really be happening at that time. So we just, obviously, this is a always a work in progress, but it should inform our 2027 budget. And that's probably the most important part right here, is that if you're supportive of this approach, then this is what we're gonna build into the 2027 budget. Obviously, each year, we're gonna approve this and look at this and revise it as we need to, so.
It's good.
Good balancing.
So I was just pleased to see that I don't think we're gonna necessarily have to do financing, which makes things more complicated, hopefully.
And I haven't purchased this truck yet for this year because when I put in the quotes, the 27s were gonna be coming out like within a couple months. So I just decided to wait until the 27s come out and then I'll see what we can do.
Maybe 26s will go down.
Yeah,
Maybe.
wouldn't that be nice? But
That would be nice. And when are you looking to sell these 5 pieces of equipment?
This year, yeah, on the auctions international.
So we can talk, we have a separate one about that, so we can talk about those individual pieces. If you
Oh,
want to
sure.
Flag them.
That was another.
We do have a resolution, if there aren't any further discussion, we do have a resolution. Resolved that Ulysses Town Board approves the Highway EQ capital plan as presented, and I would move that. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or questions related to the plan?
No, good job.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I want to know for people who aren't reading, like looking at it where we are, you mentioned the emergency reserve balance drops, but there's only 2 years in your prediction and your looking forecast that it drops below that 150. So
That's correct.
I think there are years, but I wanted to point out there are more years that it does not.
No, and there are some years it gets quite big, but
Exactly.
it needs to be in order to fund the large.
Sure,
vision.
for sure.
Right.
And the good news is about that money is, we're able to keep that in NICLAS, so that is the,
Yeah,
Right, we talked about that, the committee briefly.
we did
Easy
speak
access
about our
to it, yeah.
investments briefly, yeah.
great. Well, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comment? Okay, then, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a lot of work, but it's good to have a plan. And so I appreciate all the energy both of you have put into it, and also for explaining to me outside of the meeting, all of it. And if you ever have an opportunity to meet with Scott at the DPW building, it's actually fun to understand what vehicles are which, and and it helps put not a face, but a frame, I guess, on the individual ones. So I might be due for another one.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item that I would like to discuss, because they're here, is the declaring of surplus highway equipment. And so that was the 5 pieces, Liz, that you mentioned. Does everybody have a copy of the resolution that was passed out this evening?
Yeah.
This was previously posted in April.
It's tied right to this listed. Will be just approved.
Yeah.
So,
Is there anything, Scott, you'd like to, here's my copy.
I'm hoping the Volvo, the truck 21, I put 10,000 in there, but I'm hoping for a lot more.
Hmm.
So that's about all I gotta say. All the other ones are just kind of, they're just old. They have a lot of miles on them, rusted out. You're
really selling it to bidders at auction.
they're not gonna make too much money in that, but I think the 1 ton and 21 truck 21, I'm hoping to get.
People will
some
buy
good
them for
money.
parts.
Yeah.
Who do you use for auction? The
Auction
process?
International.
Right.
Yeah,
That's pretty standard.
yeah, take pictures and they do a lot for you and they come pick it up and gone.
Sounds good. So I will move that we declare the following equipment that belongs to the town is hereby declared surplus and can be sent to auction, sold, used in trade for new equipment, or disposed of by the highway superintendent. I will move these as resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Liz. Any further discussion or comment on this one? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Surplus equipment, and then vouchers. To go back to your original resolution page. Oh, the budget development calendar, we can talk about it. Why don't we talk about, can we add on
Sorry.
budget development calendar just as a discussion point? There's no action. Yep, budget development calendar, since you're here, sorry.
Sorry.
I just saw it in
Fine.
paperwork.
So this is just as a discussion for how things are gonna work time-wise, with the budget development for next year. It's starting like now for me. But this schedule, excuse me, is pretty consistent with last year. The dates in terms of department heads providing their budgets to me, me getting data out, them getting data back, and that includes committees and community organizations. I know I send emails. I'm looking at Roxanne because I send emails to committees. And then they get it back to me by early August, and then I try to have everything ready to roll by late August in order to begin presenting the details with department heads in public meetings to the board or anybody from the board who can attend to actually do a more detailed review of the budget. In this document, I refer to it as a detailed budget review. We have talked about it as a line by line. All the data is there. We could certainly look at every line, but we try to focus on the things where there's something different or unusual or something's changing to inform the discussion. But obviously, any questions any board member would have would, the department head would be there to answer, and of course, I would be there too, Caitlin. So, and that would all happen before the actual tentative budget comes at a regular board meeting, which would be September. The meeting, I guess, is September 22nd. So where the tentative budget would actually be presented. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about with the board is those detailed review meetings. We wanted to schedule them when the most people could attend. That would work for everybody. And we were discussing the idea that maybe selecting one date with a chunk of time. So if somebody has to take personal time or leave from their work, it would be one day and not, in the past, we did like 3 different mornings. And I think that's harder for people. So Caitlin suggested that maybe we think about a different approach. And so I'm suggesting that maybe we do our detailed review on a particular day that we could plan for well in advance, and hopefully most people would be available so that we could have these discussions with maximum participation. And again, they would be public meetings, but they would be during the day. So, and it would probably be a 5-hour stint, probably from sort of mid-morning into earlier morning to early afternoon, something like that, with maybe
With
a little
food.
break for lunch or
Yeah.
food. And again, it would also be accessible then for staff to be able to come, and they would just come to the pieces that are applicable to them. So we'd have a similar schedule and time frame, but it would just be all in one fell swoop. So anyway, that's really the biggest change that I'm proposing here. And I just mentioned September 14th or 16th because those are dates that would be good for me. Sorry. But obviously this is really just for your thoughts and consideration.
September 14th and 16th.
I'm looking at this here,
That's
the
department
detailed
head.
budget review. Yeah, that includes,
You've got town board led by Lynn.
I balance the budget for that by the fourth. I have to have everything ready by the fourth. I know it says department head meetings and maybe I need to
So you're
rewrite
saying
it,
14.
but I'm saying
So
the 14th or 16th in that time frame would be when we would have that meeting. Yeah. I think one is a Monday and
And a
one is a
Wednesday.
Wednesday. And that's, those are days that I'm normally here. So, Mondays in particular tend to work well for me, but obviously I can adjust my schedule to what works for the board ultimately.
I forgot to check that.
Doesn't have to be around my schedule.
Okay.
And if you could, I personally, like, you go a week later, that would be great. I don't know how that minute throws us back a bit here.
Well,
And I only say that because
Yeah,
school starts really late this year. It starts, Labor Day is the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So the first day of school is,
She did propose the 9th, and I said, so you definitely couldn't do the 9th.
I would trade you my wild brand new classroom on the 9th. I don't know. I'll come here.
I think I'll pass. on that. I don't think I have that skill set.
Oh, when it gets close, it's in.
Well, the only issue is, so the board meeting that we would
Right.
normally present the tentative budget is the 22nd.
Right.
So, that doesn't mean that the schedule can't change or be adjusted. So, I'm open to whatever folks think would work best for them.
What about the 21st?
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So meet the 21st. We'll do the line by line, and then the 22nd, we have our regular scheduled meeting.
Right.
Does that give you enough time to turn things around if we make changes?
I would do my best. I mean, hopefully, if there's major changes.
Yes, I mean,
it might
there's
be a little
not
bit-
usually significant changes
But,
across the board. maybe
But I
one
think
thing.
that does, even still, we could still begin discussing the
Right,
tentative
true.
budget, and it's just the next phase of the discussion.
Yeah.
Right.
So if I don't have all of the changes implemented, I
Okay.
think it's okay.
It works better for Scott, so I think.
Oh,
we
so
should-
you're away then too, huh?
First, yeah.
Well,
I can still join.
It is Yom Kippur. I don't know if that conflicts with anybody's holiday. I don't know if we have anyone who celebrates the Jewish holidays.
Not on the board
I do not.
Not on the board.
currently. So we do have an open. We have a vacancy.
Okay. Well, I
Um,
know that's often an important holiday for folks who observe it, so.
Do you have all that?
I haven't seen my school calendar yet.
That's gonna be hard.
Hmm.
That's gonna be hard not to have a calendar yet.
Our calendar is loosely based on other school districts because as a charter school, we look at all the schools that feed into us before we decide on our final days off. Thinking
makes
about how
sense.
buses get to us
Sure.
or not, so. I thought most, not everybody takes a bus to this,
okay.
sometimes.
Well,
buses just don't get there.
In the mornings, it's crazy.
Oh.
Travel.
So you're thinking September 21st possibly?
That's fine for me.
Okay. So I would not be able to give the document to the clerk until the night before. Normally, I would give it to her for the packet by the Friday before. But we would just be doing that on the same day.
But that's the first of
That's a
many
tentative,
meetings that
yeah.
we're discussing, so.
That's right. So then, your first discussion in an evening public meeting, again, the detailed review is also a public meeting, it's just during the day. And then the next evening public meeting where the tentative budget is there is the 22nd. And then, you have another meeting on the 13th to make further changes and have further discussion. And then hopefully at that point, you feel comfortable with approving a preliminary budget and scheduling a public hearing. After that, the public hearing occurs and then the board on that same night, if there aren't a lot of changes or concerns, you could adopt it that night. If there are changes or concerns or further discussion warranted, it could be adopted at the latest, the November 10th. So.
There's gotta be. Okay.
I just wanna make sure that some things out for the public to digest.
Right. So I mean, that's generally how this schedule would work.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I can pencil in the 21st.
Yeah, that just goes up the cards.
Just, it's smart enough for me.
Okay. All right, so I'll set up a revised schedule and
Okay.
then, send it out. And hopefully if that works for everybody, we'll carry on that way. Great.
And just, I know we were chatting, we came up with the youth commission, but I think our first regularly scheduled meeting is maybe the 4th. I don't know, it's a Tuesday night in September. I think that was around the time that
Right.
you were maybe talking about coming and talking to us too.
Right, so last year I came right at the end of August, I
Yeah.
think. And I came with this sort of pre-tentative budget to get the youth commission's feedback about it and make sure that it was okay before the town's portion got finalized and incorporated into the town budget.
Yep.
Obviously, the youth commission budget is more to just the town.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so then I use those elements to make sure that it's good for the town
Okay.
budget too. So what date were you looking at for that? Just for my own?
First Tuesday of September.
Well, so the 21st to 14th. Trying to work backwards. The 7th is Labor Day.
So the 8th would be the first Tuesday in September 1st.
Right, I think it was September 1st.
That you were gonna invite me to come to
Yeah.
talk about
I
it.
think that's what we were talking about.
Great.
This was the first, yeah,
We would have that.
before school starts.
There were, in late August, they were, right, you're not having a meeting in late August?
So
Cause you said
September 1st.
before.
No, I think since September 1st was right there.
Oh, you said late August in your
Right,
summary.
Yeah,
Oh,
earlier
I
this
meant that.
evening.
That's fine, that's fine. So yes, sorry. Liz will be out of town that week that we originally talked, and I had passed those dates on, but they didn't work at the committee.
okay. Okay, so September 1st, got it. So, all right, well, that sounds fine. And that's it on the budget schedule. I just wanted to, and then I'll actually have a detailed schedule of who's on deck at what time for the staff, and I'll
Right.
send that out to everybody too. And that way staff can also get that on their calendars. And you're here that day, the 21st.
Yeah. Yep.
Need everybody.
Okay,
Yeah.
that we're gonna, I'll wait to wait.
Okay. So we didn't need any action on that,
No,
but you have
no.
for us what you need.
but I have the feedback I need to finalize the schedule and get things going
Okay.
and get it on everybody's calendars.
Okay, sorry, I lost my agenda somewhere in all the paper. Aha, I found it. I have multiple agendas, but one that I wrote on, so it was exciting there for a minute during where it went. Okay. Surplus, we already did surplus equipment. Yep, we can do vouchers. And then I also just wanted to talk about the budget planning process that already happened related to the consolidated funding application project that's in here. So payment of claims. I'm just gonna move this and we can have any discussion and any questions can get answered. Resolved, the Ulysses Town Board has reviewed and approved payment of claims for vouchers numbered 253 to 317 in the amount of $180,988.72. And HA 14 in the amount of 3,000.
I know my writing.
Can you read that for me? 3,000. I got it.
$3,559.79.
Okay.
And HB voucher $1,628.07. HA and HB are our capital projects for our culvert work.
And did Lexi give those to you already? Okay, I thought she did. So I'll move that. Is there a second that we can discuss?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion points?
Couple quick questions, just to, I ran through, the vouchers. A shout out to our civic entrepreneurship partnerships, those young people who did that, program and our rec program that ran it. So that was exciting to see them having participated in multiple pieces. It looks like, if I counted correctly, we have 11 young people do the program, so that, I was curious about, we're paying some of our Excellus, our insurance from DBA and others from the DBB fund. I'm curious why some from one and some from the other.
So the way that all the benefits get allocated
Sure.
is based on the personnel costs.
Okay.
And so I basically have a list of people who get what insurance, and then I allocate it based on where they work. So for people who are report to Scott, that's a little more complicated because they work in multiple funds. Sometimes they do building work, which is A.
Okay.
Sometimes they work road improvements or brush and weeds or snow removal or water. So then it gets broken out. And Lori is the most complicated employee because she works for planning and zoning and highway and water.
Got it.
So that's why they're all broken out that way. And they're based on the employees and what benefits they actually get specifically.
All right, thanks. Curious who General Code is. They have some role in updating our Ulysses town code. Just sort of curious what that works, because we talked about it being on the website and things, and so we're outsourcing. Is it the website preparation? Is it like a required? I'm just sort of curious.
General Code is like a online platform
Yeah.
that multiple municipalities across
E-code.
the county.
Okay.
You can go and search E-code and then you can look up any municipality.
Okay.
It's a library of.
Okay. Yeah, I just was curious because I know we talked about it lives online. And it's like, I think that's the connection.
So, it's not, I don't think it's probably well known and like, unless you were around for it, and I wasn't, but Carissa undertook a huge lift to get our laws and our zoning up on E-code.
Okay.
And there are still towns in Tompkins County who don't have electronic records. So when we do an E-code update, because we've changed zoning, we try to bundle. Because they have to go through a process of updating it online, and there's some cost efficiency in not doing one-offs, but and to try and to keep them together. But that's what that relates to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Great. Anything else?
Still, it's your signature.
Oh, really?
Stuck together. I just finished.
I was being careful with that.
You did a good job. It was somewhere in the middle. Stuck it out the other way.
Oh, boy, I put it back.
Oh, no.
Right,
I'll find it. Exactly. Hold on. I'll find it for you.
Because there were a couple that were sticking together.
Yeah.
Then in the meantime, if there's no further comment, I'll call for a vote. We had a motion and a second. So all those in favor, approving, opposed? Okay, motion carries.
So question for next month.
Yep.
It's Mike, you're up, right? And Tom was supposed to be up, so how will we?
I'm going to need a volunteer. It can't be me, so I unfortunately cannot volunteer for this duty. So maybe you guys can tag team it. Let me know what on your schedule.
Until we have somebody fill in the spot.
Right.
So it could be a month, probably. Almost.
I can probably think about the next one. The first Tuesday. Just add it down.
I'll try and remember to tell you. I'll take those. Thank you. I need some more paper over here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then I wanted to, for those who follow, I wanted to talk about the, just in the context, and then we can have a further conversation after we go through our comp plan portion. But I wanted, while Blixie was here, the item of new business under the Smart Growth Comprehensive Planning Program grant application for zoning code. So this is part of the consolidated funding application because the state budget was like super late. The release of consolidated funding application process was delayed by a month, but they have not changed the due dates. So the due date is still the end of July. I have been talking to MRB, who has been doing grant writing for the town for many years. And through their grant writing, we have collectively brought in nearly $4 million in the last 5 years through grant programs, including the one that funded the portion of the comp plan process. So it is not, we have not staffed the town in such a way that we can reasonably go after or internally prepare grant applications. It's just, we've not, the town board has not chosen to go in that budgetary direction. The contract that we had for the preparation of the comp plan has us within, we did a 5-month extension on it at the request of the comp plan steering committee. That has us wrapping up by early July based on the meeting schedule, based on the deliverables associated with that contract. With that in mind, the board could certainly choose to go into an additional contract with them to have additional meetings and drafts and things like that. That's certainly the prerogative of the board. If the board chooses not to do that, though, applying in the consolidated funding application round is the town's best chance to acquire money for a future zoning update. And we only get one chance per year to apply. If we don't apply this year, the next soonest time we could apply for funding of this nature is next July. Best case scenario is if we applied this summer, best case scenario is a grant announcement in late December or early January. And we probably won't be in contract till a year from now. Because we are only now going into contract for things that we applied for last summer. So it takes in the last few years, and I don't know if your other municipalities are experiencing this as well. It takes about a full year from application to a contract, provided you get it in the first time you apply. And there's no guarantee of being successful in a grant application the first go around. Many grants require multiple application processes. So we have a relatively narrow window if we choose to apply for funds this year. And I wanted to bring it to the board for consideration because that's your job. So that's here. It was also intended to, within the town budget that was adopted, that there was funding set aside in that, and Blixie can speak to that, with the intention of beginning to implement portions of the grant or of the comprehensive plan. And we did look for funding for housing related work. And because we are not a designated pro-housing community at this juncture, we are not eligible for any of the housing related funding available through the state. They have made it directly linked that if you want housing related money, you need housing, you need to be a designated pro-housing community. The Village of Trumansburg is, several municipalities in Tompkins County are. I just received a presentation from David West at TCOG last Thursday about how to go through that process if the town board chooses to do that in the future. And it's not a particularly onerous process. But it is something that we would need to jump through. I've also started to have, there was also discussion at the TCOG meeting about future opportunities that have not yet been identified by the county about how municipalities can collaborate with them on housing, but they don't have those details worked out. They are undertaking a plan, but they have not yet been able to share how they want to directly engage with communities on their housing plan. Right. So the county had a county-wide housing plan. They just did the first one, well, not the first one, the previous one just kind of wrapped up. There was news articles about all the benchmarks they failed to hit. So that's just an ongoing process that they engage in. And every time they do it, they do engage with the municipalities in that process, and we'll certainly participate, as I'm sure the town has participated in the past, when they let us know how that's reasonable to do. So am I missing anything from a budget standpoint?
No, I would just say that we planned in the B fund budget to have money set aside for the cost of whatever might need to happen to continue to move the comp plan process forward. If we need consulting or whatever we might need to outsource as opposed to staff being able to do it themselves. So I think it's in the neighborhood of $25,000, not specifically earmarked for a particular thing, but just knowing that we might need that funding to do whatever we need to do to move things forward. So that's there for the board to allocate in the way that they see fit.
So we have that kind of already accounted for, so we just have to do a
You'd
allocation,
basically
not
decide how you.
a budget
It's
model.
not a budget
It wouldn't be a
modification.
budget modification,
No.
we already have it
It's
accounted.
there, but it isn't necessarily, I mean, we didn't have enough information to know how it would be spent.
But this was
But
one of the
it's-
things we talked about in the
but-
budget process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that there was all kinds of things that might need to be done as a result of completing a process, a comprehensive planning process, so.
Sure.
Setting money aside for that was part of the budget discussion in the budget cycle. But it wasn't, there wasn't like it was earmarked to a specific contract or anything like that. So the fact that you extended your comp plan process, I mean, that this money can certainly be used to pay for that, for example. Because that would have been funding that wasn't necessarily known when we were adopting the budget. But certainly those funds would be used to pay for that.
And then we wouldn't have it for implementation
Right.
for this year.
Right.
Since we spent, okay.
But I mean, but in terms of what's in the budget, there is money set aside for whatever costs might be associated with continuing this process that you're in. And if you need more than that because of decisions that the board makes, then you would have to look at fund balance. But that's basically what's there. But there was expectation at budget time that more funding would be needed to move to whatever your next phase was going to be of your planning process.
And from a planning standpoint, there's a strong rationale for why you should move to zoning relatively soon after a comp plan is adopted. And that's because a comp plan, right? You think about when the data was collected for a comp plan, and I'll use the previous comp plan as an example. That comp plan data was collected for 2007, 2008. The comp plan was adopted in 2009. The zoning update didn't start happening until 2017, 2018 with an adoption in 2019. So the zoning update was predicated not insignificantly on data that was from 2007 and 2008. And so and I'm not criticizing anyone who came before me in that process, but the reality is you're dealing with new conditions 10 years later. We went through the Great Recession. We saw housing prices start to escalate in the 2010s in Ulysses, which have only continued on further. And so the farther you get away from the origins of your comp plan, the more potential risk of disconnect you have. So I think that regardless of when the town board adopts the comprehensive plan, even though I'm sure there's going to be quite a degree of general tiredness associated with all things land use and things related to that, there is a rationale for why you continue moving forward. And the other thing about these grant funds is that you don't, as soon as you receive them, you don't have to start spending them the next day. So you have time to do other work. And even if we applied and were successful, we still have another year before we could even potentially ideally be in contract to even begin starting a process. So it's not that, you're immediately close one book and open another and start working on it. There's going to be built-in delays anyway, and we have no guarantee of receiving it. So I'm hoping to have a more truncated acceptance of a comprehensive plan and moving into the zoning discussion so that, quite frankly, the comprehensive plan is still fresh in people's minds to some degree. And that's not necessarily the case in the last zoning update. So I just wanted you to hear from our budget officer that in fact, that there was money that was anticipated to be used to start the implementation process. And this is one option that the board could undertake. So
Outside of board approval, what is needed to start the grant application process? Anything?
no, it's just board approval.
Well, you have to have somebody who's gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, you have, obviously, if you decide that you wanna go in that direction, you obviously have to approve the application. But then how does it get done?
So we would have to do a gatekeeper resolution on the actual application, but we don't have it. The first step is to enter into contract with an entity to do the work. This contract that's being proposed does meet our procurement requirements. But then it will be just the choice of the board how to proceed.
and then
They would come back to us for the actual gatekeeper resolution and
To
board
submit it.
authorization before submission can happen. Yeah.
is there? So just thinking about the zoning code update and what of a gigantic task that's gonna be. Is this thought is use this grant to apply for like update a couple sections, like say we try to tackle the development districts first or a certain section of the code? Or is this gonna be just a general, we're updating our code?
So I'd recommend a general update of the code. And the reason I say that is because the last one was meant to be focused on the agricultural district. And then the entire code got updated. And I don't want there to be a disconnect by saying, hey, we're only going to specialize on this one thing, but something happens or perspectives change, or we're dealing, frankly, it could be a different town board 2 years from now, right? And so I think it's safer to keep a general update and then scale it appropriately. I mean, I talked to folks in the lakeshore zone. The future land use map mimics the current zoning map. There was a lot of work that those neighbors put into the lakeshore and conservation zone designations and considerations. And that wasn't that long ago. And so I know that they aren't necessarily, I'm not speaking for them, but the ones I've spoken to weren't necessarily hopping, to do a complete total rewrite. But that being said, there may be things worth tweaking in it, maybe things that are brought to our attention. So I think going in the more generalized approach is better. It gives the town more flexibility than saying we're only going to do this one thing and then that doesn't turn out to be the thing we need to work on.
And we don't have to have decisions because zoning code changes take forever on what we're gonna change in the zoning code while we have to apply for this.
No, those are all discussions and that's another committee. That's another, we did 40 public hearings, or I'm sorry, we did 40 public meetings and 12 public hearings of the comp plan steering committee meeting. That's a whole other committee that's going to have public meetings, that's going to have public hearings, that's going to talk about where it makes sense to make changes. But we're going to end up paying for it in one way or the other. There's going to be a need to do that work, and it's whether or not the board wants to take a step in that direction now or very realistically wait an entire year. It's not, money's not going to be available in December for this. It's the next consolidated funding cycle, because that's how New York State distributes funding. That is not how most states distribute money, but this is how New York State distributes money. So
Last question. When's this application due?
31st, I think, of July.
July 31st.
But we don't need to make that decision now. I'm not asking you to make the decision now, but if you have any budgetary questions specifically while Blixie's here, I think it's good to get them straight from her, so I don't butcher it accidentally. Any questions? Anything on procurement, on?
Yeah, I have questions. I'm not sure if they're budget related, so I don't want, if we can let Blixie go, then that's an option too. It was brought to my attention and we heard a little bit tonight. I'm curious about the status of our relationship with MRB and putting them as the grant writer. I guess there's two parts to it. Does the grant, will the grant application require a finished or approved comp plan? Cause that's what they're referring to, or maybe they're not. And then are we leaning towards MRB because they're so familiar with where we are right now in the process? And I don't know if we would have another option or a backup or another person in line to also hear about. That's some things I'm not sure.
So having them write the grant application does not bind us to using them.
Okay,
So they have written many grant applications for us and
Okay.
not done the work. So that's
Okay.
that's not necessarily, it's not a requirement that the grant writer is in fact the grant administrator
okay,
or the contractor there. So those are two separate things.
okay,
In procurement, the town, under state law, the town is, and please correct me if I misrepresent anything, under New York State town law, procurement allows for us to select professional services based on our desire to have those professional services. Those are different from a open bid process for like facilities work.
sure.
There's recognized distinction. And so this is a very tight timeline. Having we did go through the town. I wasn't a part of the town at the time, but the town did go through a process to select MRB historically to do this kind of work for us. We are currently have an RFP out. I'm sorry, an RFQ out for grant writing services related to transportation as part of a transportation engineering service. But there's nothing illegal or inappropriate. It could be a preference that you want to go out. I can tell you and I'm not saying that $6,500 isn't a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in a town budget for these kinds of services. And if the town would like to go out for an RFP for generalized grant writing services that aren't transportation, my department can certainly fulfill that request. That has not been specifically requested as by the board. And certainly we can do that. We did that for attorney services back in 2021 and appointed a new attorney in 2020, beginning of 2022. So it's not something you don't do. I think that, so that's, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I think it does. The first part, especially the questions that have come my way the last week or so have been about why MRB and what's our ongoing relationship with them. So that does that. And it is helpful to know that the grant writer is not necessarily the grant administrator. I think that's really valuable information to hear. It makes sense to me to move forward generally because there's such a delay between an application and not only being awarded funds, but then having access to them. That would make sense. And I'm sensing it doesn't. The last part of my question had to do with if we needed to have this document approved for them to do this other piece, and it sounds like we could continue working if we needed to, even as the application process was
Absolutely.
underway, and then in the very lengthy New York State review process.
Right.
Okay.
Well, with the comp plan.
Yeah.
So if
That's my question. Do we need a comp plan to
That's
apply
why
for money to do a zoning on a comp plan?
So that's why I wanted to say, let's talk about whether or not we want to approve the contract on the other side of the comp plan. Because I think this meeting will help us understand where we feel collectively we are.
Got it.
Because because to apply for zoning, you really should have a completed
Right.
And
Okay.
but that would be by the end of July. If the town board wants to extend that, we're also going to need to extend a contract to continue to complete the work. So we would need a contract extension because we are on track right now. And Blixie, please also jump in on this if I misrepresent anything. Right now, we have a contract for specific deliverables
Got it.
that we're working through.
Yeah.
And the town has been working through this for a multi-year process, right? The town board adopted a contract after having gone through, a public bidding or a public submission process, which MRB was recommended by the committee. And then the town board accepted and approved that contract. And then we did so we adopted a contract with the intended schedule and the number of meetings and all of that. And then we did an extension for 5 months to have a lot of public meetings and a lot of committee meetings. I mean, we were going every other week and 4 hours on a weekend. And produce a couple more drafts in that. And then now here we are, which is it's a couple more meetings with the intention by contract
Right.
that we are supposed to be wrapping up by the beginning of July. If the town board feels like it needs more time,
Right.
then we would need to do an extension of that contract in order to have more meetings with our consultant and to produce more drafts
Sure.
of the comp plan. That is open to the town board to make that decision, but it's not, nothing's free, right? Like
Right.
there are financial costs associated with every step.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything in that's flagging?
So, but extending the contract for this work, drafts and updates is different than potentially an additional one-time contract for this grant writing process,
Yes,
right?
they're distinctive and they're
And-
distinct developments.
And we could create a contract for the grant writing without having finished this. We still haven't discussed paying for additional time, or so if we were to say we're gonna do the contract now, but we're not approving this the minute before that, we still have that time. These are they're related, but they're not like exclusive to one another. Is that, I mean,
My recommendation would be that if you want to go into an extension of our contract with MRB on the comprehensive plan, that we do not apply for funds to
Okay.
do the zoning update until next year.
okay,
And the reason being is that we should have a finished adopted plan by the submission date of July 31st to have our best chance at a grant, because what I wouldn't want to do is extend it however many months, 3 more months past that, right?
sure.
And there were some big changes that were made.
Yeah.
And then, and if there are big changes, we're gonna have to go back through public hearing, you know what I mean? Like, it becomes real nebulous,
Mhm.
real murky, unclear. And if the board comes out tonight saying, I think we're on a direction to have a couple more meetings and fulfill the contract we currently have, then I think we should go forward. I personally would vote to go forward. If the board as a whole or as a majority feels that we need to have however many more extensions on this, I still need to go get an extension to the contract
Yeah.
and they still need to provide it and you still have to approve it. So that's, that to me says we're at the end of this meeting, we might be at a fork in the road. It doesn't mean we have to be wrapped up tonight, because we aren't going to be wrapped up tonight. We're going to have at least 2 more meetings
Right.
where we talk about this. But if at the end of tonight, you're like, okay, the majority feels like, we still need some more information, or we still want to, there's still things we want to address, but we feel like we're generally in the right place and we're getting where we need to go, then I would say going forward with this, that they will need to know basically this week.
Mhm.
Because they need time to put the application together. And unfortunately, we didn't get that extra month because New York State didn't release it. Every municipality is in the same way, and the ones that get hosed the worst are the smaller municipalities who don't have the staff and who aren't as nimble. So we're kind of where we are, and the board can choose which pathway seems to make the most sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, so take up all the airtime with my questions.
Those are great
If you have
questions. Okay, well, if you have nothing else for Scott and Lexi,
No, we're not. We're waiting
we're gonna have
till later. Talk about the comp plan first.
talk about the comp plan draft.
Hey,
Thank you.
Get out of it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah. You get all your extra money back over the 10.
I feel like he needs to work on a sales pitch though, so.
Not too good.
It's a shame his mic broke the next time we're talking about the thing we're selling.
Okay.
Only with like control like that.
Uh-huh.
No.
Don't know what happened. This was.
Okay. So next up is the comprehensive plan discussion, and Liz provided some resolutions. I had a couple from last time that I provided that we can also discuss. And what I really hoped we could work on. I need to give Jessica back her pin so I don't steal this accidentally. Thank you. What I really hoped we could do was talk about the future land use maps or the future land use map in context of other maps that we have. And Jessica, may I invite you to join us up here just to kind of give us an overview of what you prepared for us?
So, in terms of the maps, we simply put together 2009 map to the 2026 map. You can see the differences between the two maps. As you guys have stated, you know, your conservation area, your environmental protection area has stayed relatively the same. A lot of agriculture, changed the MDR, but this area is still concentrated as the Jacksonville Hamlet area, where it's a neighborhood mixed use here. And it is also mixed use here as well. This area was a village residential area. You still have housing, it's just in different densities around that area. You've also had this conservation protection area, which is a bit broader now, compared to the thinner areas which reflected your streams and creeks and things like that. Yeah.
So we also, so this is,
Numbers, I don't.
but
I don't think that.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Lots of maps. So another map for your attention, make sure you have it, is this was the 2005 zoning map.
This is dated 20, it is 2005, sorry, I read it as 2025, like multiple times.
I promise you it is not
I'm-
2025.
I know, and that's why I was
Okay,
like,
yeah.
my brain was.
Do you have one of
seeing it
these,
too. I
Michael?
apologize. Is it?
The 2005? Okay.
No.
And then
Fun map.
this is a specialty map that I had Scott overlay existing water lines on. And so I have mentioned in, you know, in meetings, that when the comp, and this is something that the comp plan committee, discussed also. Carl, who represented the planning board, he put together a lot of work. And so I want town board members to really see where existing water lines are, in the town. I think, there's a lot of, there's a lot of people don't realize how many people, have either access to public water already or have public water running down their roads. And so the committee, the comp plan steering committee, considered the existence of these lines when it was talking about, you know, areas suitable for future development. And what's not reflected on the map of existing infrastructure, with my, you know, famous black Sharpie, is the places where, and in fact, could I borrow your Sharpie again? Because I'm gonna take a little look then up to that. Steve, can I borrow that map that you're looking at?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
There, over the years, there have been several discussions about where to extend or make connections to water lines, and I'm just going to use a dashed line to show that. And or where we've had residents who have approached us about having it. And so you can see that what I'm showing in here, Michael's very familiar with this, but these are places, so the connection between Podunk and Cold Springs, and on Long Rabbit Run, we've had residents come in for special meetings associated with water concerns on Rabbit Run because there's public water on South Street Extension already, and they would like to hook up to it, but they currently can't. And then also running potential water line connections on Route 96, connecting the Jacksonville Water District with the existing water that comes out of the village into our commercial district for some of the properties like SureSafe. So water likes to move in circles. It really doesn't like dead ends. It currently has a lot of dead ends. So thank you very much. Thinking about where making those connections make sense has been a conversation that, to the best of my knowledge, has been happening at the town level since the 1990s. So I think focusing on the draft future land use map, and any questions we can answer. We can talk about certain elements, things that you'd propose to like change, and then You know, we can put forward, we'll do it, we'll kind of run it similar to how the comp plan steering committee ran it, which is, you know, people put forth, oh, this is the. Put forward, not this one either. I'm drowning in maps over here.
I think you gave your copy.
I think I did get my copy away. Can you guys share that one? Or do you have enough?
Yes.
Okay,
We
perfect.
can have that.
Yeah, we can swap. Steve and I now swapped.
All right.
Like, how did I not have that? So we,
It's yours.
sure, it is now. As long as you don't need it.
Nope, I got mine right here.
So you should have your 2005 map, your 2009 future land use map, your 2019 zoning map. Does anybody need the 2019 zoning map? Everybody needs that one. So a bigger version behind you. Oh, there you go, Michael. It's a 2019 map. And then I think we're good to go to talk about the draft future land use map. So we talked about this at our last meeting. We said we were going to talk about this. So where would people like to ask questions or make recommendations for changes? Or resolutions for changes?
Ask a question about like land use, terminology.
Mhm.
Because I think that's one of the things I'm trying to make sure, just slight changes in words and then we hear, well, we're not sure. So I'm looking at, this is the future land use, the proposed future land use. And then, or the updated future land use, and then the 2005 zoning map. They use the language in the red as moderate density, seems to parallel what we're saying is medium density. Is there a distinction that we should be aware of? Moderate versus medium?
So in our current zoning code for the residential zone, so if you look at your 2019 zoning map, you'll see the residential zone. It's that is currently designated in the town's zoning code for medium density.
The uses that, like the types of homes that we were thinking about as medium density residential are currently allowed in the existing.
With the exception of the only one that the comp plan steering committee discussed and put in the draft plan is the allowance of townhomes. Every other type of housing discussed in the comp plan for medium density is currently allowed in the residential zone in the town.
Okay.
Which is described as medium density in the zoning code.
Okay.
So right now in the agricultural district, a property is allowed to have a single family, a 2-family, and an AUD. And that's what's currently allowed.
Single family.
A 2-family and an associated or an AUD. Accessory dwelling unit.
Yep.
Or accessory unit dwelling. So that's already existing. In the agricultural zone, currently as it stands, our zoning requires 400 feet of frontage and a 2-acre minimum. There is a provision allowed for cluster development, but to the best of my knowledge, since the zoning code has been adopted, there has been no cluster development proposed or implemented. In the existing residential zone, it allows for less frontage. I believe it's 165 feet. I can double check that. But it does allow for smaller parcels. And in the current medium density description in the draft comprehensive plan, the plan calls for a maximum of 50% of lot coverage allowed for the medium density.
June. If you have 1 acre, half an acre has the same open space and you can develop the other half.
As long as you also meet, setbacks and your size requirements. You can't build, like, you know,
Do you have definitions for all of these?
yeah, they're in the comp plan.
Yep.
Draft.
And just a reminder that we did change, I know there was a comment earlier about the low density and medium density residential definitions. We did update those last week based off of a resolution for yours.
Yep.
So we did remove. We changed low density so that we took out the references of agricultural too.
So why did we remove agriculture?
No, we didn't remove agriculture. We just the definition changed from low density land use focuses on housing and complementary uses at a low density residential scale in areas. There's too many things. Predominantly reflecting existing residential uses in areas of the town without existing public water and sewer facilities and which are not anticipated to have these services during the term of this plan. That's what.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that in the low density areas, there's no expectation that we're running water lines out there.
Correct.
Because it doesn't make sense.
And then medium density is also defined in the.
Yeah, the definition.
I would be curious to see what the definition in 2005 for moderate density residence district was.
I don't have that at my disposal.
No, I know that. I don't know if we have records.
I'm sure I know we have records. I could go pull up the 1999 comp plans. It should be in there, but it's been a while since I reviewed that, so I don't want to.
See what that,
Right.
because that does. Like the red,
I can go.
Well, one of the red is very dramatic, so it feels very different, but it's.
a lot of the red matches up.
A lot
with
of red
what
matches
We've
up.
got orange,
Yeah,
orange on Cold Springs.
but
It
that's
actually
doing
extended
something. Yeah. it's
more
doing
over
something.
here, like Wolflin, that's Wolflin area, right?
Over Coast, Wilkins,
Wilkins Road,
yeah.
Which one? I forget one. Right.
2005 zoning map, just
With all the red.
looking at the red. Which at that point,
That goes very much from modern than the current Arbor Puzzle is much.
Well, so aren't we working off the 2019 zoning map?
we're just using the 2005 as a comparison. Because there's a lot of sentiment that there's a huge change between the 2019 zoning map and our proposed future land use map. And we're looking at just what happened between the 2005 and 2009 future land use map, and then what was reflected in the 2019 zoning map. There was also significant changes between those two maps that you
Yeah.
have.
The arch is are on top of.
Right.
That's right.
To me, it's been blocked this. Word.
Well, another board approved that too.
Yeah, wordsmith this into this.
Yeah. And this is what I was looking at recently over the week, and now this is of a similar scale.
Yeah, I would certainly need more time to review this than just tonight.
These documents have been publicly available.
No, I know, but
Regularly.
it wasn't on the agenda. This was.
We
specific
talked
to-
about at the last town board meeting, I said specifically, we are going to be talking about the future land use map, and I said, we talked about what maps we wanted to see. So this has been part of the conversation.
Right, but it'd be nice to be presented with this, have time to digest it, then it's that. Well, that's all I'm saying.
Well, and that we will see how the board wants to go, if they want to make changes now, or how they want to proceed as a board. I looked in the 2000 or the 1999 plan. There's not. The land not designated for any commercial categories is to be residential.
Okay.
Exceptions to this land set aside as critical environmental areas and lands that may be placed in land trust as well as parkland. So that is the definition for residential from 1999.
Okay.
Not super helpful.
No,
Okay,
So
great.
we heard tonight about like New York State ag law and how that overlays onto what we're doing. I'm very unfamiliar. Can you
yep. So
know?
yep. So in
Here?
so we are a right to farm town
Right,
in a right to farm state, and agriculture is allowed in every single one of our areas.
okay,
So we do not prohibit agriculture in any part of the town.
okay.
If you are in a state agricultural district,
Mhm.
it allows you to not have to engage with town level restrictions that interfere with farm. So for instance, if we passed a law restricting a noise ordinance, and you had a farmer in a state agricultural district farming at 1 o'clock in the morning and it's loud, you can't enforce the local law against them.
Okay,
If you are in a state agricultural district, you are allowed to put up a building without a building permit.
If it's for agriculture.
If it's for agricultural purposes. If you have setback requirements and things like that, you may be able to appeal. If the town has setback requirements or is restricting size, for instance, that's a common place to say, we don't want buildings over, say, I'm not saying we're doing this. We don't want buildings over 10,000 feet, 10,000 square feet. We think those are an economic blight or like a visual blight. And a farmer says, I need a 20,000 square foot building in order to house my cattle, my dairy operation. And if the town tried to impose restrictions on that, that property owner would have the right to go to New York State Ag and Markets and appeal the town. So back in 2014, in fact, we had a farmer who who went through that process, and it was found that the town's restrictions were impeding farming in a state ag district, and those restrictions against that farmer were in fact not legal. So it's protecting farmers because it sometimes some people don't, they like the idea of farming, but they might not like the actual farming practices. And this is how the state has decided. The state is saying, towns, you don't get to make those decisions. You can't NIMBY out agriculture in the state of New York.
thank you.
Yep.
So a lot of this
Mhm.
area here, this area here, and a lot of this area over here do fall within this Tompkins County designated agricultural district 2.
Got it.
And in general, Ag and Markets discourages and will fight to some extent the extension of any infrastructure such as water or sewer into agricultural districts, because it is a sign that it promotes development, which the intent is to keep these farming. Hence why at one point we did have some additional areas that were low and medium density residential out here, but we ended up removing all of that and just focusing in on the areas where you have your water lines.
The place I was looking, and I shared this with you, Caitlin, earlier today, the place I was looking was along Rabbit Run, and then in the area that would run behind what I usually think of as the commercial district, the Sure Saving and McGuire, running down towards the park. And this is super helpful to have these larger. I've heard many people like an expansion of an increase into like a more medium density around Rabbit Run was something they were worried about. And it seems to me we're actually reducing, at least on the, what's that, the west side? For Rabbit Run there to a low density, whereas currently it's zoned for medium on both sides.
Correct.
We are increasing some space. Am I reading this right? That we're adding a low density space. Towards where the park creeps up on Rabbit Run, it gets a little wider there, across from the commercial district on the west side of Rabbit Run. That's not there now, so we're like extending the low density.
Could you show, I'm sorry, could you
Into
show me?
DD9 is where I am. I don't know if that's helpful to talk about it. So comparing.
Oh, so that's actually already changed. So DD 9 on this
It's
map.
I'm just above the land above.
Oh, sorry.
DD9, yeah, I'm sorry.
So the land above that, that's the water, that's like the water, that's the state-owned land.
Mhm.
What's green on the zoning map, that's all owned by New York State.
Right,
The same.
right, so the tan area, yep, that would become. Is currently,
It's
Well,
zoned.
and we're moving into low density residential.
Yes, we're suggesting that it move into the future land use category as low residential.
Right.
And in part, I think that stemmed from how close it is to the village, how close it is to public services, potentially. They're back a few years ago. It was something that I inherited. There was outreach made prior to my time as supervisor to folks, Smart Start, folks along Route 96 who are near water but not able to currently access it. The town reviewed a couple of options of water extension lines. And so there would be, right, like I mentioned before, we have a problem of dead ends on our water lines, and we do have people who want to access water. Recently DD3, so DD3, the only thing that's not really accurate on this map is DD3, because the DD3 has been split into two parts.
Okay.
And
Or
no, it's two zoning parts.
Two parts.
Yeah, and I meant two zoning parts. The part around Route 96, basically it divides it almost exactly in half effectively.
Sure.
The part on Route 96 is remaining in DD3, and the
Okay.
part on Halseyville is now residential.
Right. That's the barring slip.
Yes.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
So the town board actually approved that. So now we actually have that
Right.
pocket. We have that pocket of residential there. So the comp plan steering committee considered that when it was making recommendations in this part of the town.
Yeah, I guess a question I'm wondering about is the relationship between creating space for low density residential, like running up along Agard between there and the parkland. And the impact on that water, that creek, it's running right down into Zagami. There's the parkland buffer, and I would assume there's, greater challenge to build near there if you were doing the building. But that's just where my brain is going right now.
Well, even under current conditions, so for instance, this parcel right here, many people in the community know it as the old Grassroots Campground.
Yeah.
That could be subdivided and broken into 4 parcels under its current status, with a house, a duplex, and an AUD on it. So you could take that parcel because you can do staggered setbacks and flag lots and things like that. So conceivably, there's enough acreage there to actually do a subdivision that would allow housing of that scale there in its current. Now, all this is predicated on people wanting to do things with their land. But there are subdivision processes that already exist in the ag zone. It's whether or not somebody chooses to trigger them. So when we look at these parcels, we say, well, we don't, and it's a fair question, like, do we want to increase the density potential and then result in development? And I think sometimes folks don't understand what subdivision can look like. Now, there is, and this is something I'm very much looking forward to having a conversation about in the future, is there are current restrictions in our zoning about how many times a parcel in the ag zone can be subdivided,
Right.
regardless of size. You could have 1,000 acres, not that anybody does. You could have 1,000 acres on a single parcel,
Right.
and it could not be subdivided more than 3 times.
That conversation was featured in this, the 2019 discussion, or those discussions running up to the 2019, right? Some of those divisions and
Yeah.
those extremes, 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
What percentages and things like that.
Right. And I think those are fair conversations to have. It's not what we're having right now, but you can, if you look at that, those, provided you can get 2 acres of frontage, or I'm sorry, 400 feet of frontage with flag lots and a 2 acre minimum, you can flag lots. You can subdivide lots up to 3 times, resulting in 4 parcels. That could happen. The reality is, and the reality is that's not happening sizably. When Carl did a lot of data analysis on the subdivision of parcels, the huge percentage of parcel subdivision occurred prior to 2000. And he actually, put together and presented it to the comp plan steering committee. I think some very compelling research into how ag land, large parcels of pieces, large ownership of ag land is held by a relatively few, like big chunks, or by a few relatively large entities, some of which live out or are headquartered outside of Ulysses, but are using it to spread manure, things like that, for dairy operations that are outside of Ulysses. But if you're making that kind of investment, they're putting in, some of them have put in some sizable investment in drainage to those fields, tiling to those fields. Does it mean that they couldn't decide tomorrow that they want to, start carving up and subdividing properties? I'm sure that's, it's property, they can do anything that they want to by zoning. That does not appear to be their intention. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of acres that are owned by some pretty big farming entities. So, but I've been on the public record for a long time. Especially the southwestern portion and parts of the eastern portion of the town, I really don't want to see residential expansion. I would prefer not to see sprawl happen in those sections that have prime agriculture, but in areas where we have existing water, or where the town has been talking about connecting water for a very long time, that to me, from an infrastructure standpoint, seems the most logical. Running brand new water lines out into the agricultural land would be incredibly expensive and counterproductive in an area where they are state agricultural districts. Connecting water lines along Route 96, that's a different, that's kind of a different kettle of fish. Steve, did you have other questions about spots where there was?
No, I'm comparing closely now.
Yeah. Liz, what about you? Michael, what about you?
I just only have a couple of areas where I have some questions on it, but I'm gonna do some more studying on it. You got a turn on it.
I think one of the things that we talked about on the comp plan steering committee was looking at our parks and open space. And the current zoning map has a bunch of different items that are park and recreation, but in our discussions, we were recognizing that there's a difference in what parks and recreation do. So we have free parks, like the Newtown Park, we have Sailor Habitat, we have Smith Woods.
Right.
There's Deganic, which is a state park, you have to pay to go there, but it's a state park. And then there are places like the golf course, where you have to actually pay to go and use it. So that's one of the reasons why we've kind of created this legacy business, which encompasses a lot of the development districts that you've seen on the different zoning maps, plus some of those businesses that are like the golf course.
Yeah, so golf.
That's the golf course.
Yep, this is the golf course. Okay.
Yeah, the majority of the golf course is in the town, not in the village.
Then
Actually, only the
also-
driveway
What
entrance
is
is in
that,
the village.
what expanded the park, what park out here expanded between? just the zoning,
That's the.
That's sale
does that
habitat.
stay low and then it
Yeah,
just got, it's just being pushed out further as a part from its original? Cause there's 2019, right? This is say low out here.
Yeah,
2019 has it a lot smaller,
I think that,
if I'm reading it, it's like.
oh, there's the, oh my gosh. Gun club,
Yeah,
Okay, all right, so the gun club is gonna, there.
yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. It blanked
I
out
was-
for a minute.
It's
Yeah,
like I drive by
Okay,
it every
what's
single day.
residential then, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
because they back up basically to the touch. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. It's-
And honestly,
yeah,
that might be
was out,
one,
That wasn't.
that might be one we
They're
consider
very,
as a
have you been out there
legacy.
though? It's super
Oh,
buffered.
so I agree. I've
Yeah.
watched Salo and I was like, I'm just thinking like, when we're looking at, if we have a legacy business.
Yeah,
or
and one,
something
maybe
like
that is one we wanna reflect as opposed to parks and open space, the gun club,
But they do allow it for hunting.
Yeah,
but would it be considered a legacy business similar to the golf course, where you have to have a membership? Or
You do have to have a
pay there?
membership. Maybe that does make sense. And it dates back to, I think they were founded in 1948. So I
Yeah.
don't think it gets a lot more legacy than that. So
yeah,
we could change that. Do you want to propose that? As a,
yeah, I'd be comfortable proposing that change.
okay, so
You know,
So-
yeah,
the resolution is resolved to,
resolve to identify the land currently used as the gun club as a
Oh, we
legacy
got it.
business.
it's Trumansburg Fishing Game
Yes,
Club.
fishing game.
Thank you, it's not the gun club, but
I think it would be. I think it's pretty well suited to parks and open space.
Okay.
I don't realize it's been there a while. That parks and open space, we gotta protect it if they do about a business.
Hmm.
You know, they move. The neighbors might not want a business.
well, I think what we were looking at was these legacy businesses is kind of like an over encompassing, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be developed into another business, and that's where the zoning would come in, similar to how we have the development districts now, where it could be
A compatible
a
use.
compatible use. But the golf course, for instance, I mean, that could get sold and become housing development, just because it's a
My takeaway from the definition of legacy business was like things that don't fit anywhere else, right? Like
It-
kind of, they've been there
I don't
long,
think
and
the
they've been there
development, yeah.
long enough that they are their own thing. I'm just down from.
Because that's what a lot of the DBs are.
Yeah.
Legacy businesses.
Mhm.
Right, and we heard from businesses that, you know, they want some sense of continuity to be
Sure.
able to, you don't want to know that if you sold your business that you can no longer be used for the purpose you have it, but you know, you can see a situation where a business that's one thing in 50 years, or maybe not even 50 years, in 10 years, it might make sense to be something else. But that it doesn't but in such a way that doesn't adversely impact the neighborhood. When we talked about this, we wanted to provide some sense of stability to the business as well as a sense of stability to the neighborhood, right? That they didn't want to see rapid change of any variety. We wanted to note that we're trying to strike that balance while also recognizing that quite frankly, times change.
Mhm.
So the definition that we have is the legacy business character area is intended to recognize and support long-standing locally owned commercial establishments that do not align with the permitted uses of any existing character area, land use, or existing development regulations.
Right, that's a lie.
Those Morris Marine down on here, so.
It's currently in a development district.
Yes, that's simple. The one down on Du Bois Road, the purple,
West of.
Just north of the-
West of.
Ithaca white area. It's a long, narrow piece to the east of Du Bois Road. Down, 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 down. Nope, nope, down. That closer to you. Closer, close.
Keep going all the way
Keep
down.
going down. Go towards
Right.
the
Right.
There you
right
go.
there.
Right
The
there.
purple.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah.
I kept looking here.
Nope.
Yeah, these reds, that's New Park.
That's new part, yeah.
The red that you, the long skinny one is New Park.
Yeah.
And then we got the Yacht Club and the Pines and the Titanic Inn. are the red ones that are along 89 there.
Yep. So it's not creating any new uses. Correct. It's basically identifying ones that are there that are important to the community too.
And similar on the east, yeah, putting south of the village, but east, I guess between Falls Road and the Titanic Park, that area that in 2019. Is that agricultural and we're moving to identify it as medium and low density as it gets closer? Those are all things that could currently happen now, affect the same development could happen now under current plan.
So, there's newer housing that is on Falls Road. Part of the reason for Falls Road, there's new housing has cropped up there. The area close to the village that is owned by Grassroots is currently zoned residential. And so since the 2000, so some of the information, for instance, that changed in the 2009 comp plan is that since then, we now have a water line that runs down Falls Road.
Okay.
I'm a Falls Road resident. We organized in 2017 to join to form a new water district, and it failed by 1 vote. Because you have to have about 85%, and one property owner said no. More than one property owner said no. But the reality is, there's a distribution line that runs along that road. The majority of closer housing that has popped up is on the southish side of that road. There are still some large parcels on the north side, so that's kind of why there's a distinction. And then there's that little pocket north side of Falls Road that's an orange triangle around Cuga View Road. That's developed housing there. So, Liz, can you point it out?
Yes. Yeah.
So you couldn't farm that. I mean, there's farming all around it. Yes. My neighbors own a lot of that green area.
Stover's own land there.
Yeah, Stover's own land over there. The Scots own land over there. They own big parcels. They have no desire to, well, in conversations with them in the last few years, they've had no desire to sell. I wanted to buy a piece of land over there because I like living over in that part of the town. And they farm. They lease their fields to farming. So, but there is that water line, and I think it's inevitable, quite honestly, that road eventually, maybe not in my time near there, but will eventually join a water district, because I have neighbors who run out of water in the summer. I have a 12-foot shallow well.
Yep.
And we can't realistically go down any farther because of bedrock. And I have, their neighbors on Titanic Park, I mean, not immediate neighbors, but a couple houses down from us. They don't have any water. Like, they don't have water. They buy water to have water. So, the interesting thing about the town is that, folks have a wide variety of different experiences, even in the same general geographical area, with the quality of the water, their consistency of the water. And so, there's already a line that's already been paid for that runs down Falls Road. As generations change, right? It's certainly not today, and there's no discussion about putting that I haven't had any conversations with my neighbors about reorganizing, but I think it's relatively inevitable. I have helped Grassroots navigate a process to get public permanent access to water along that distribution line. They ran out of funds to continue paying for the engineering and attorney fees associated with it, so it's been put on hold. But the village did express some degree of willingness to allow them to connect, because during the festival they actually use water from that line at the campsite,
Right.
on a temporary basis. So, and the village has been very public about wanting to sell more water. They have more water than they can use. So
I'm just noticing this, and this is not an issue for us to figure out, but who drew the village line? Like, so I'm just looking at Seneca Road. You would think that Seneca Road would just be like the county, and then south would be the village until you get out to Searsburg Road. But there's like this little pocket right at the corner of Seneca and 96. That's town home property.
Right, so my understanding is back
What's
then,
up
the
with
property,
that?
those property owners didn't want to be part of the village.
Oh,
And
But everybody else-
Obels, it was back then, it was the Obels Trailer Park. It needed access to public water.
okay.
And a way to give them public access to water is to make them part of the village.
Yep.
And therefore they got water by right.
Gotcha. Okay. It's
Um,
just very interesting. I mean, I think that's the hair place, the
Yep.
antique mall that's changed a couple times.
Yep. It's a good vintage.
It's a vintage, yeah.
Yeah.
It just looks, it stands out.
It sure does.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Not so much on the zoning.
I was like, looking at this, and I was like, but it's very much, there's like, it's great things on it.
Yeah, back in my very optimistic things must be easy in local government land days, I suggested just like making that part of the village and was informed in no uncertain terms that that was a lot harder than one would think. So I have not picked it up. I mean, if the property owners there ever want to organize to become part of the village, they certainly have every right to request annexation. And I would support it. It makes sense. But it is what it is. I can tell you, courts do not like these kinds of maps being created. Like, this is exactly what they don't like, but it was a friendly annexation. Both the town and the village and the property owners were all supportive of the process, and therefore we ended up with that weird map. But if Liz wants to tangle this
No.
one.
No, I just, it stood out.
It sure does. It's not supposed to be like that, but that's where we find ourselves.
And just for Michael and Steve, I thought I had it, but I can send it to you guys. So when you're comparing the zoning map
Yeah,
to the future land use map,
Mm-hmm.
just remember they're serve two different purposes.
yep,
But they are related, and Neil's actually put together just like a hypothetical how these different future land use character areas could fit into a zoning map. So like where the agricultural and natural resources lands, that could be similar to our AR zone right now. Low density, and so he did a comparison.
Yeah,
And
it was low density agriculture and rural residents all fit under our current
right.
definitions of agriculture.
So, but he kind of color coordinated it, so I'll see if I can
Yeah,
find it. I thought I
that
had
would
an
be-
extra
That
copy.
would be.
And again, that's not saying that that's the final zoning district,
Sure.
because we're not at that level yet. But just for how this all fits in
To
or
our
could
existing
fit
zoning.
into this was kind of helpful to see that this map looks like this right now, but we may end up a zoning map that's similar, more similar to this because of how the character areas fit into zoning. So,
the one to your right. I want this one.
Yep. Yep. That's the zoning map, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So question about between, Taganet Creek right here, between Jacksonville and 96.
Mhm.
Could we protected the creek more? Because it looks like we've turned it into a low density residential. And then we got steep slopes in the
So
south side there.
So the designation or the coloration is going with the parcel as opposed to, so basically it follows the ownership, but this does not override and would not override regulations we have on the books or could expand in the future of setbacks. So right now the town has some of the most, we are noted actually in state materials as having some of the most restrictive setbacks. We have a 50-foot setback for streams and creeks, and we have a
100 to some streams. and
well,
creeks.
no, I was gonna say, so streams that, the average stream and average wetlands, we have a 50-foot setback. For Taganet Creek, we have a 100-foot setback. So even if it's yellow on the map, it doesn't mean that if you're within 100 feet, you can build there.
Right, well, all I'm saying is the allowed density of housing, like beyond the creek setback. We did.
The yellow?
Yeah.
You're saying?
I think we're
So-
talking about the same. I think we're
Right,
having the same
so
conversation about.
I would encourage you to drive down to Gannick Boulevard or to
Mhm.
I'm sorry, to Gannick Park Road. That's my neighborhood. It is already highly developed.
Yeah.
There are a lot of houses there that it pre-exists. I mean, my house is on the corner. It is just shy of 2 acres and my house is at least 200 years old. I've got a very close neighbor that has just over 2 acres. Next door, the house was probably built. Well, it was actually redone probably in the 90s or 2000s. There's a house very close to the next of it. And we have a very, like, it's a very much a neighborhood of houses. And then you have, you actually have, it's clustered there. And then you have state-owned land actually closer to, on that road, closer to the Halseyville, the Halsey House. So closer to Gannick, the intersection of Falls Road and Gannick Park. I'm not saying the land can't go back into agricultural use. These houses aren't going to, they're pretty, if you see, you can see the yellow, those are pretty small parcels.
Yeah, I'm not saying to go back to agriculture, but I'm just saying it should, I'm thinking it, we wouldn't want to encourage a more of the same density housing.
Right, and that's why it's low, it's designated, it's low density there. It's yellow along that road is low density. As opposed to medium density.
Which low density outside of,
That would continue to be, that could still fall under, if, that could still fall under our current agricultural zone.
It's low density.
the current zoning?
Your current.
It's rural residential in the current town zone, low density.
Which,
Building and company uses. And those ones should be stated out.
you were faster than I was.
It's on page,
57, I don't know.
yeah, page 57, the low density residential land use designation is established primarily to provide housing. Oh, this is the one we changed though. This is the one we
Yes.
tweaked. For housing and complementary uses at a low density residential scale. And then we did a period. That's not
Because we got rid of.
the agricultural district 2 part. That's not currently served or anticipated to be served by public water and or sewer facilities.
So under the current zoning, the AR zone
Mhm.
is defined as the AR agricultural rural zone is primarily intended to preserve farming and agricultural lands in the town and to maintain open space and the quality of life enjoyed by residents in the town. This zone prioritizes and preserves viable agriculture in the town, providing an area where agricultural operations and agricultural-based enterprises are the predominant active land uses in the zone. The agricultural rural zone protects existing agricultural areas, encourages the continuation, reduces land use conflicts.
So is that what low density residential would be? I'm just saying what lot sizes and.
Yeah, we can pull that, I can pull.
So, recommended primary uses for low density residential, according to the draft comp plan, are single detached dwelling units, duplexes on larger lots and accessory dwelling units, all of which are currently allowed in the current agricultural zone in the town. I added that as commentary, but that's accurate. We've had folks who live on that road also who have come to us for questions about public water when they.
So it says.
So single family residences,
It
two
says
family
here.
residences, their accessory buildings are allowed. Permitted accessories, AUDs are allowed. There's a whole bunch of things allowed by special permit.
And
Lot yard, no more than one principal building on any structure in the AR zone. 2 acre lots, 400-foot road front, 200 feet.
what the draft comp plan is suggesting is that area undeveloped by buildings should exceed 75% of the lot. So no more than 25% lot coverage in a low density residential land use.
And this says 2+ acres.
For the existing zoning of AR
Mhm.
is 2 acres.
Right, so would low density residential be that?
it would, again, that would have to be something that the zoning plan update committee, but yes, it would likely fall in under that. So. I mean, the zoning committee can honestly come up with 10 different, completely different zoning categories than what we have now. There's big change from,
Let's not encourage them on that.
no, but I mean, there was from 2005 to
that's-
2019,
the names
there was
and
a
the terms,
The
significant
names and
change.
the terms.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, there could be, I'm not saying
No, you're right.
anything.
Yeah,
The
that's-
name
It's
might
a-
change,
that's
right?
their job.
The
But-
name might change, but we're trying to define intended future land use terms that reflect both contemporary realities and, you know, anticipation of future development to the best of our ability.
I mean, if you look at this, if you were a housing developer, which none of us are, at least I'm not, you would, that the point of this is if you wanted to build a couple duplexes or triplexes,
Right.
you would focus in on the orange areas. Or,
Which is why we actually had a housing developer just this past year when we were looking at redoing Development District 3, who wanted to put in a couple houses, right? And so we talked about whether or not whether or not the residential zone creating part of that as a residential zone was appropriate. That's exactly what a housing developer was looking at.
because we don't want them, I mean, we don't want them looking at Waterburg and Perry City Road.
Because the residents there don't
We
want
don't want it.
more development there. I have talked though to folks in Jacksonville who would like to see more density in different parts of it. So,
And then we're expanding similarly, if we go to kind of another spot, I've got where the Honeybee Embassy is my trying to point.
no, that's Honeybee Lane.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So that's all
Yeah.
developed
Right.
and they have public water.
So, but we're expanding south, no, east of that, right? East of 96 there.
Mhm.
We're moving that from, let's label here in the zoning, agricultural, rural to proposed medium density with the same idea that the things that we've been talking about can already be done or accomplished in this ag area.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It could be done now.
It could be done now. It doesn't mean that that's automatically gonna change what is there
Yeah.
by any means.
All right.
The landowners still have full right to their properties to do with what they want within the within the zoning code and town law and
But
state law.
But
But yes,
the comp plan survey results and community feedback in our public forums did encourage development along Route 96 and also along existing infrastructure.
Right.
So that was part of that conversation. That's why, you know, and it's not just that infrastructure, it's transportation infrastructure. You know, how do you, if you want to have a future where people are not car dependent, you have to be located along transportation lines, and that's where TCAM runs. So,
I think what I'm getting out of our kind of meandering conversation here, and I appreciate you giving us the time for it. And us being kind of candid and open is my takeaway so far is that a lot of what I've heard people say, we're expanding the language of the future use plan, the medium density residential areas. We are changing colors on the zoning, but the things that would be allowed in the proposed new area, new named area, actually, in general, and probably exceptions all over the place, are allowed now. If someone wanted to take this piece of this lot right here and either subdivide or build on it as aligned with zoning rules. With a lot, we're not changing the zoning rules because we're not, but
and in fact,
that's just what I'm hearing.
and in fact, you've seen that if you drive down Route 96,
Yeah.
there has been new housing development, including a duplex, including a it's not a multifamily, but I think it has a couple of apartments, and a primary dwelling that's set back from the road, just since COVID, basically. So, those were legally allowed by land use already, right? And so I think we're I mean, I am really grateful. There have been a number of people who've reached out, you know, saying like, what is this? I had a very, lovely resident reach out and in the Van Dorn Corners neighborhood, and she has public water, and she was very concerned that that her property was going to change to medium density. And I actually pulled up the description of where her house is. Like, I pulled up her address and confirmed her address. And I said, actually, you're already in our residential zone, which is considered medium density. And we had a conversation about that, and she was wondering what the comp plan draft meant, what the future land use map meant about it. And we were able to have the conversation that she really is grateful to be on public water there, and that it might make sense to have townhomes in her neighborhood. Now, that is the only other new type of housing being proposed in medium density, which is currently falls under our existing residential zone. And I think that people
Say again, that's the only new.
that's the only new housing type
Housing
proposed
type
in the
that
comp plan
So other types
are already
are
allowed.
already allowed. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so I am very sensitive to folks who feel like it's a dramatic change, but when you actually talk to them about their particular property and their particular zone, those conversations can be very helpful, because I explain what you're allowed to do currently and what you might be allowed to do in the future based on this plan. And in fact, there's a lot of compatibility in the people that I have had conversations with.
Now, is the Quaker Cemetery, is that private? That's not. The other cemetery is listed as public infrastructure.
The Quaker Cemetery is owned by the town.
Where's that located?
It's on, looks like we need to change that from green to gray.
It's right on the corner, right?
Sort of, I thought it was bigger than.
It's real small.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
over here.
a good catch, Michael. Thank you.
Turns gray,
Where
right?
is it? Yeah, where is it? I might be blind,
Check that same thing, the St. James Cemetery. That's listed as this low.
Actually, that's true too.
Thank you.
On Sayersburg Road.
Yep. That's funny, because you're absolutely right. It's in the town outside the village. Yeah.
I drive by it every day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Helen.
So then
So-
I would make a resolution to amend, resolves, the town board amends the future land use map to designate the Quaker Cemetery on Perry City Road and the St. James Cemetery on Searsburg Road as public/infrastructure. So I'll move that. Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. And so,
We can point those out, Jess.
yeah, we'll get you the tax maps numbers. But you're gonna need to email me to make sure that I get them for you, so I don't forget. So the other thing I want to say too is that this is not. If the town board chooses to move forward with this plan and we discover that there is a cemetery we have forgotten, we can amend this map in the future. Like, we have discretion over this by resolution to amend a plan. There's a process for amending. So this is not the kind of situation where if something slips through the cracks and there's an inaccuracy that comes to our attention in terms of something like that, which is obviously like, did you actually intend to put a cemetery in medium density? Then we can address it. That being said, future land use maps are often kind of muddled on the edges. Sometimes they have actually, like, this is more of the 2009 map. Or you can get more blobby effects with future land use maps, like that's 2009, right? That doesn't have the firm one. So I'd like to catch as many mistakes or issues or things like that as possible, because we want it to be as accurate as possible.
What is? Not the drive-in.
The drive-in, I think that
so.
predates me.
I think so.
Right in here.
Yeah. There's the driver in the movie theater. The thing is.
My
still up.
favorite, oh, that's,
It's still,
Is
I
that-
think
is
the
that
booth-
why
the
that-
ticket booth is still there.
Right.
If you look if you're coming into Trumansburg,
Is that why
From
that
Ithaca.
was expanded? Because if you look on there, it was expanded.
I think it's over here. You can see the ticket booth still there.
The apartments,
Yeah,
used to be a restaurant, used to be a Mexican restaurant.
really?
I mean, this predated me, but I see the ticket booth.
Yeah.
How have I don't,
Sit back, so you have to, don't be driving and looking for it.
That's right.
okay,
See
Thank
the
you for saying
passenger-
that.
See the passenger? in the
okay.
front?
I'm gonna have to track that down.
I think it's all farm now,
I think it's over.
agricultural, but yeah, they might do.
So I was just curious why that was
I think that's
blocked
why.
out.
I think I think because if you look at the 2019 map, you can see that how much frontage that parcel has on Route 96. And so you see those parcels that have access to Route 96. That's why they were designated in that way. You know, and really stemming from they could.
Hey, if anyone wants to bring that back.
I
that
love
would-
drive-in. I
Awesome.
deeply,
They're
deeply love
they're
them.
gonna come back, just like malls are. Yeah, right.
I go up to the one in the Finger Lakes drive-in. I was there 2 weekends ago and got bit by a lot of mosquitoes. I contributed to their habitat. They're important pollinators.
Just give her.
I'm a giver.
And one other thing that just came up and there was a lot of discussion. So we did go from, for a lack of a better term, this blob map, which I don't like because it sounds like condescending, but it's not condescending. It's just
This one?
2000, yeah, the 2009 to a more parcel defined map for our proposed future land use map. Based off feedback from the planning board that we received, that's easier for them to look at a map like this and be able to see what the town board and the town had intended for a parcel. I know we've heard some mixed reactions from the Board of Zoning Appeals, but the planning board, just that was the feedback that they got, was that they liked the concept to be able to apply when they're evaluating projects and proposals against the future land use map, because
Yes.
the planning board and the BZA are really the ones that use this map the most.
This one I was talking about in particular, it looked like it followed the lot lines, but if somebody
Right.
cuts it off, because a lot of times people are just putting their rectangles right on the highway.
Yep.
Right where the water is, unless they run their own water line to the back.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was
That's a
curious
long-
about, so I see what you're saying.
That's a long line.
Well, yeah, you're not gonna do that from something general.
Right, but yes, that's why,
Yeah,
with that feedback was kind of why it was presented to us like this originally. But we were talking about it and there was a lot of discussion on it.
And now, I mean, the reality is in 2007, 2008, when this was being crafted, or the previous version was being
Yeah.
crafted, technology was different. We have so much granular data
So use it.
for individual parcels that, you
Yeah,
know,
you can see every part. It's actually really valuable to see all the parcels.
And I think that's why Mike's Marine, right, Moore's Marine, I'm sorry, not Mike's Marine. Moore's Marine, I know they're both there. It looks bigger because we went to the parcel. So the Moore's Marine DD8 is actually smaller than this, but we included the whole parcel in this.
finger that goes back.
Correct. So you had made a comment earlier that it was bigger than you
Yeah, I
thought.
kept looking. Cause you're driving from Ithaca, so you're
Yeah.
driving off the map a long way, so.
Yeah.
And so the only other question I would have is, and I need to do some more reading, on it's just what we're specifying as medium density, so it doesn't. If just relating it to my line. Mine's 30,000 square feet. And in this environment, 30,000 square feet is really small. You know, and then as long as you have decent setbacks. Okay, because. So in California where I lived, 30,000 square feet would have been huge. Right, so
Yeah.
relatively speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we have water and sewer. So here, if you're starting to put, on-site waste disposal, as long as they're maintaining them, that's okay. And if you've made sure that they've connected to the water system, there's some that are not, right? You're okay. So it kind of protecting them from themselves. And like Kate was saying, with a dug well, there's areas in here that are very sketchy with water and, say the dry season.
Yeah. Well, and I couldn't agree with you more, Michael. I mean, I think that's why I really wanted to push the medium density exclusively in areas that have a reasonable potential either to connect to existing lines or, minor extensions allowed. Because we don't, the community just doesn't have the bandwidth or the cost, right? The cost better than all of us about how much those lines cost. So medium density right now in the draft comp plan, the medium density residential land use designation is established primarily to accommodate housing at a medium density scale, including missing middle housing currently served or anticipated to be served by public water and or sewer facilities. These areas are generally outside a hamlet and planned neighborhood nodes. Recommended primary uses, single detached dwelling units, duplexes, attached townhomes, and accessory dwelling units. So right now, even in the agricultural district, like I pointed out, or in the rural residential, you could do single detached dwellings, duplexes, and accessory dwelling units. The only new proposed version is attached townhomes. And the townhomes specifically, they help really reduce construction costs. You can share between multiple units. And so townhomes, I mean, they're like, it's not, my mom lives in a condo, which New York makes condos hard, but outside the city, but it's essentially what townhomes can be, is they can function like condos. They're a popular senior living option that doesn't require you to have a big front yard and a single detached house to take care of. So the example areas that currently exist under this medium density residential are properties adjacent to the village of Trumansburg, properties along Highway 96, not in a neighborhood mixed use or commercial area, properties along Cold Springs Road, properties along Jacksonville Road, north of Perry City Road, and properties along Van Born Corners Road, south of Highway 96. So those have been identified as areas that are actually already compatible with that type of residential density. And like I said, the area undeveloped by buildings should be equal to or more 50%. So no more than 50% lot coverage. And so you have to think about things too, is that if you're not on public water, right, you have to have wells. Health department's going to require setbacks from wells. You have to have space between your wells and your septic system. So by definition, you can't get super tiny because if you don't have public water, because the sewer and the septic and the water and the well have to be far enough apart, right? That creates
separation.
Right. So then it pushes up the size of the parcel, right? And so that contributes to sprawl. If you're on public water, now all of a sudden, you're not worrying that you're drinking your own waste, basically, because you're using a septic and accessing water that's coming through a public water mechanism.
Yes, when we get ready to do, closer to the zoning for that language, if it's 50% lot coverage, we do have a limit.
Sure.
What is it, 20,000 square feet or something?
Oh, it's much smaller than that, I think, because my house actually is not zoning compliant. I think we have
I think is the biggest one.
Yeah.
Arena.
I can't remember.
What? The one around for me?
Shell's Post Barn, wasn't that one of the biggest?
Oh, that's the barn. Yeah, that barn's a huge barn. 20,000. The riding arena
on Podunk. Oh, gotcha. Never mind. Yep.
So we have
right at the corner of my property.
Yeah,
right from the house.
On a building size, it's
as long as it's not agricultural.
Yeah, they might be.
Yeah, no, we can't limit agricultural necessarily. But for housing, we have housing footprint limits as it is. And I would anticipate we don't see. I'm sure maybe those will change in the future, but that's not even being proposed in this one. Basically, it's what type of housing. I mean, I can tell you don't make gigantic townhomes. A townhome is by nature a smaller component of a larger place. And the public also said, came back that they don't want they don't want large apartment complexes. So that's not prioritized in this plan. What they did identify is the missing middle housing. And so if we can't control building costs, missing middle housing. Missing middle describes housing that is not being currently met, basically more condensed housing. Missing middle is that between that price, not affordable, not, well, let me say, not low income housing and not and I'm very happy that they come, but the people who are building multi-million dollar properties, multi-million dollar houses, somewhere in the middle that's not necessarily a single family home, things that we would think of as starter homes. Back in the day when you could get a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house as a starter home and then move on to something larger. Or the big one I hear constantly is senior housing. And we heard from members of the public, like one lovely lady she waited for 5 years to get into housing and didn't want to leave our community. So it's that missing middle of we seem to be, building single family homes if you are, wealthy enough to start at the price point of $600,000 plus. But what about something at a smaller scale? And we can't control construction costs, but we can control land use designations in a way that and there are policies in here to help make facilitating more affordable housing. And when we say affordable housing, we mean affordable to our residents, not low income. And that is defined in here also. So the public said they wanted that, and I think that this reflects it.
So one last question. So rural residential along like what you were explaining was, did you guys pick out those parcels?
Yeah, the rural residential one
got a little murky.
It's gotten a little murky. It's
checkerboard in there.
Yeah, I mean, the intent of the rural residential is that there are properties that have a house on them, but are farms too, which represents a lot of them. So they don't necessarily fit into.
I mean, were these parcels picked up for this?
They have houses.
Yeah,
Right.
they have houses.
So they have houses and they're kind of collectively. So we had a representative on the board. We had a couple who lived in the Willow Creek area. And they know what the kind of subdivisions are currently happening in their neighborhood. And so what this allows is very low density residential, while also recognizing it has an agricultural flavor, and there may be microeconomic or micro agricultural activities happening. Is Chris still on? Chris, because Chris spoke about this at the last public hearing. She's got a micro enterprise agricultural related project, but she also has a house, right? And so and woods. And so that's kind of where in practical terms, like Liz was saying before, if we were to convert this into our existing zones, everything that was light yellow and this lighter green would all be in our current agricultural zone. So it doesn't require a change. It's just kind of trying to recognize where a fair amount of housing actually substantively exists. And reflect that on the map.
Yeah. The one thing because we were talking about Du Bois Road and stuff, we actually do not have, I don't think, the vineyard, the winery called out.
It's agricultural, about the farm.
Do we have it under agricultural? I don't know which parcel it is.
So I would make a resolution, resolved, that MRB will confirm that the farm winery is designated as an agricultural property.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's not. I know it's somewhere here. But
well, it's on Crumbs Corners. Oh yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's never mind. We don't retraction of that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's all green.
I'm thinking Du Bois Road.
Is it the whole one?
No, it's
Mm-mm.
agriculture.
It's in green.
One of these.
So it's on Perry City and then you hang a left on Crumbs. If you're heading
Right.
towards the lake on Perry
Yep.
City and hang a left on Crumbs Corners, it's right there. It's all green.
I think it's that big one.
I
Yep.
think that's the big, it's,
It is.
and there's one property. With the small road there, so.
Yeah, I know. we're all- Sorry. Brain's not working. But I think every single one of these, you could drive by in these yellows and there are houses on them. Like I know my property's in yellow. We have a house, but there's still 10 acres of woods and 20 acres, not 10 acres. 10 acres are either wooded or farmed.
Yours is what, rural residential?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I. It seems funny to me, like checkerboard like that.
Yeah,
Do you want it rural residential?
it doesn't affect us one way or the other. We're not
Doesn't
going
value-
anywhere.
it doesn't
We're not
impact
going
your-
anywhere.
using your
It's
land.
still gonna be farmed.
And you wouldn't have under, if it was a separate zone for it, which it isn't, it wouldn't give you any more rights than you currently have.
Yes. This is some of these small lots, but predated
Yes.
even some of the ag. Required bigger lots.
Yeah, we have some old homes that probably are not compatible with existing zoning that are grandfathered in,
Over in that neighborhood, yeah.
including my, well, yeah, I don't have to go into it. We had to do some finagling. But it was allowed at the time,
And it was long before you were on the town board.
way before.
I think language that we can use in the next couple of days and weeks as we hear from people. Is this is a future land use map, but that it has been designed. And attempts to identify current land use as well, right? Like, so. Looking at the area that is rural residential is not that we're encouraging, that type of development. We're saying this actually, it's a little bit of both things, right? We're identifying that some of this already exists here. It's not that we've decided
We're gonna
this is all
build there.
going here,
Yeah.
right?
It predated zoning,
Right,
so it's, it's like you want to encourage it.
right. I'm just trying to think of
So it's
responding
like you
to
look
the
at those
thing.
little lots that are north of you, Searsburg Road,
Yeah,
you know. I wouldn't necessarily designate them rural residential, even if they are tiny lots.
But would you, I mean, they're not agricultural either,
No,
so would they be low density?
well, that's what I'm saying, you're getting into like some checkerboard stuff, because it's not really gonna affect me, but it starts to get a little too much detail.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail.
Right.
And I think having the areas broken down by zoning lots provides that level of detail.
Well, that's why
That-
like this old one here, that had blobs.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, we're generally in here, because this is not a zoning map.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither is this.
Right.
No, it's not. And
And you're just like, I see what you're saying, and I'm trying to encourage growth here. And
well, I think the intention of the committee was to bring what information we had on a parcel by parcel basis in some cases where you're talking about where water lines are, where things are, to kind of better understand the functionality of the town overall. And there used to be more rural residential on the map, and it was actually, especially there was some rural residential over in the southwestern portion, and we actually eliminated that. And went all to green, in part because there are portions, Reynolds Road has seen a number of houses, and Waterberg Road is seeing a number of houses too, but we also saw that there were some subdivision is going to be less likely in that area because, like I mentioned, we know of some very large industrial entities that have purchased up land there with the intention of using it for agricultural purposes. So we know that there are some houses in there, but we also know the broader, I have a friend who abuts, has, I think they have 15 acres and they wanted some woods. Part of they considered, it felt like part of their woods, right? And so when one of these large entities purchased the land over there, they actually demolished the woods on their part of the field because they get it's better financially for them to use the land rather than keep it wooded. And so they offer to, could we buy that piece from you? And they were like, literally what the answer was, talk to my grandchildren's grandchildren. So like there's no immediate intention, at least and for that particular owner in that particular part of the town, to do anything other than to farm, right? That's what they're doing. So I supported removing some of the rural residential designations in that part of the town because that town, that part of the town, you visit that part of the town, it feels very highly agricultural, right?
Yeah.
And I support keeping that highly agricultural. Willow Creek, it doesn't mean you couldn't have small scale agricultural activities, orchards, things like that. But there's a lot of housing that's been constructed in that neighborhood. Your road is highly developed,
And the eastern half, the south and eastern half, like once you turn the corner, it gets bigger and emptier.
Yep.
And it's all agriculture at the top. Or you get to Jacksonville.
So I really think that the zoning really should probably, I'm not there and I might not even be on the board when it happens, but when the town goes through a zoning update, if I were on the board, I would be very persuaded by having a zone that encompassed both the light green and the light yellow, the agricultural and the rural residential, because they do fit under our existing zoning for agricultural. But I think the intention here and what I've supported having these houses identified is that it's important for us to remember where housing actually exists. And keep that in mind because it's going to help us inform and understand more development and where development is likely. I mean, the Willow Creek neighborhood's a lovely neighborhood. I could understand more people wanting to live in that and for parcels to be subdivided if they could under existing regulations to allow more housing. So it would not be surprising to see more of that, is my point.
They have some sketchy water now. Too.
They sure do. If I've had a couple approach me,
Sketchy one?
yeah.
From my experience.
So that, and then why is the blue at Van Dorn and Perry City Road and 96? How did that become mixed? Because that actually is agriculture.
So the conversation there related to, you have Mama Said, you have Corner House Dispensary, you have another commercial property right on the south on 90. It's on the southwestern corner, southeastern. There's agricultural properties happening right there, or not agricultural, more commercial. That's designed as neighborhood mixed use. Neighborhood mixed use land designation is established primarily to accommodate a denser residential community and a range of allowable non-residential uses to support those communities, including live work spaces. These areas are primarily located in or adjacent to a hamlet or neighborhood node. The conversation existed around people who live in those areas feeling like they do live in very distinctive neighborhoods. They actually are quite walkable. Their houses are close together. They're on public water. And these are intersections along Route 96. And the public, when surveyed, identified that they wanted to see commercial development along the Route 96 corridor. And so this is on both public water and public transportation. And so they're already, at least in the Van Dorn Corners one in particular, is already, that kind of activity is already happening. And then farther down, as you get closer to the city of Ithaca line on Route 96, we have our, we have Trade Design is there. It's the old Renova site. We have consumer commercial properties. Yeah.
Office technology mixed
Right.
use.
Yeah.
And again, there is that property that's on the corner where Brownie's old farm stand used to be. That is currently agricultural, but if somebody, it's being farmed right now. But there are, but
Cause it's.
if
going from
somebody
agriculture
wanted
to
to,
that-
like,
That neighborhood mixed use, cause the neighborhood mixed use is, they're really small lots.
but that particular property could be a spot where some kind of development could go. If the property owner sold the land, I mean, that's all,
There are also deed restrictions on that property.
there's a lot
So
of lots of stuff.
there's
Well, it just seems out of place, cause there's got the medium density residential, kind of surrounding it.
well, that's kind of the point, that it would allow a diverse, it would allow for activities to happen, some of which would be a commercial nature to support residential around it. So they're actually, the parcel that Liz is talking about, I think, Michael, that you're talking about, they're actually agricultural deed restrictions. They are not allowed to grow certain things. So because my understanding is when Brownies sold, they did not want to sell to somebody who would compete with them.
They can't grow flowers on
Yeah, or corn, or like,
That's true.
yeah, consumables. When I say corn, I don't think they can grow corn for people, sweet corn, right?
Sure what Dr. Joe's doing, that's not.
And this was, at one point we were approached by Trumansburg Community Rec about putting a field there, a sports field there. We obviously didn't pursue that, but part of it, it's well located. It's basically, it's on Route 96, high visibility, and has public water access. So, and is adjacent to areas that have public water and that are more that's the medium density. So. Clustering it as opposed to spreading it out when there's already, basically we started with the blue on the left side and then talked about moving it across the street so that it could also be it could basically be a cluster around that intersection, because there is effectively what's blue already on
that's
the other side.
a little bit of a dangerous intersection.
To wrap up our conversation on
Thanks.
future land use map for now.
Thank you.
So Liz, you provided us with resolutions. So let's plan to go through those at our next meeting.
Yes,
Oh, you got panicked there for a minute.
I did. I was like, really can't.
Well, I was gonna say, and
We have to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow.
oh no, we have to be dropping our kids off at 5 o'clock in the morning,
They're leaving for DC.
right? Isn't it 5 o'clock?
They have to be there for that.
Yes. Yeah. That's okay. I rarely sleep out for town meetings anyway. True story.
Can you make sure those are in the next?
Yeah, I'll add them to it. Does anybody else, have you been writing any? Because we can just create a list too. What are you?
I'm gonna have a few, a lot of my questions were around these maps, so that's why I need some time on tonight.
Yep. That was a great conversation. Thank you. So if you have them, please send them so we can discuss them. So, before we go, I think we can push out the Smith Woods. I think we can
First sticking around.
I think we can push off the Smith Woods review, because I don't want to short shrift it unless you want to go through the seeker part 1 and give us permission to go out to public with it for public feedback.
Is there a time frame?
We have a public hearing scheduled for the 14th, so we would just have to extend the public hearing, because there's no way that if we push it to the next meeting that we could get the comments back, but that's fine. We could just table it on the 14th of July and continue the public hearing on the 28th. So I'm fine with that. We do need to circle back though on the application.
Yeah.
So one way or another, I'd like to settle that tonight, because this is our opportunity for the next 12 months.
I guess if it's, if it can wait, I would recommend holding the CEA. Smithwoods.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that would be my vote. Not my application.
Yeah, no, we're not even picking it up tonight. We will just carry it over to the next meeting.
Okay.
So that brings us back to the smart growth comprehensive planning program grant application preparation.
Do we need to schedule the public hearing,
For what?
the vacancy? Do we already do that?
We did not do that. But we can do that at our next meeting.
Right. Right.
Because it wouldn't be till the 14th.
Right.
It's per the calendar that we discussed, it would be
Right.
on the 13th. So I can push that to the next one.
Smart growth.
Well, based on the public's comments tonight, I'd rather hold on that for now.
Liz, what do you think?
I hear the concerns. And I think there wasn't a lot of context provided around what you're looking at for this application or the timeframes. I guess I don't see it.
So I actually we should have done this out of order, so let me interrupt
We have to
you.
make a decision.
You have to
first.
make a decision first whether or not you want an addendum to our contract, because I would have to bring you back an addendum to the contract. The estimates for when we did a contract addendum before, it's $750 per meeting and $3,000 per draft. It might be different. I would have to go back. But those are the costs from the last time. So
That's unrelated, the contract is unrelated to the grant.
this is
this
Just
is the
making sure, the comp plan additional contract.
right. So we're on track to wrap this up by early July, the comp plan on by early July based on the contract we have. If the majority of the town board wants to extend the contract, I'm going to have to bring back to you a proposal for an addendum, a second addendum. Those are the costs. Those were the costs of the first addendum. So I think they give us a good ballpark.
Okay.
If you feel we need additional public meetings, if you want additional rounds of drafts. I mean, we're still gonna get another draft. We're not done though.
If we do what we did for the last 2 nights, go through sections. And let's give the constituents an opportunity to give us feedback. I don't know if that automatically triggers MRB coming back.
Our consultant needs to be at every single meeting that we do this at. So it's $750 per meeting, because otherwise we are updating them about what happens.
Sure.
And that's not a system that works either. They have to watch the meeting or attend the meeting. So either way, that's what the cost is.
What are you thinking in terms of just ballpark, how many more meetings to discuss this? 2,
I'm
10.
I'm not thinking 10.
just
I'm thinking 2. I could imagine we find something that surprises us, but I think we have a lot of people who are giving us feedback. But I can see 2 more.
But yeah, just curious.
Let's see. I mean, this went.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is on late.
Yeah.
2 would imply you're gonna go through a lot of the sections, many sections a night, right? The other half. Donates to the plan, donates.
Right.
Well, I think 2 is doable, but you have to bring your resolutions. We don't have, so I mean, when we set this up several years ago, the town board actively chose not to be the steering committee on this, right? We designated a representative body of our community to actually be the steering committee, and that's why they held 40 meetings just related to the comp plan. They held 12 public hearings, they held other things. So we opted not to be that entity. So we're now in our review phase, which is an important phase, but it doesn't negate all the public work and the public meetings that the community had access to for the last several years. And so I don't think we are realistically, this is the time to, I read it, make your recommendations for changes. Liz has done that. I know you're working on that. I'm sure you're working on it. I already did. And I have a couple that I'd like to bring back for further discussion. There are about 3, I think, that we didn't take action on related to mine. Then that might be worth coming back to, as we've gotten public feedback. I know that public feedback fed into my resolutions, right? Like, I appreciate the feedback from the public. But at the end of the day, it becomes our job now to make the edits we want to see and continue this process along. So I think 2 meetings for me, I think is a reasonable, and maybe they will be longer meetings, but it's important work. And I think we had a very good conversation tonight. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I came in with thinking about resolutions the last week and a half and getting some feedback from people and thinking about, I needed conversation about the map.
Yep.
In order for me to be able to hear people and answer them, as well as I'm reading, I wasn't involved for the months and meetings of this, and so I do have some faith in the process that was established. So I am still waiting for that. I do appreciate tonight's time, though. That's been very helpful.
Okay.
What do we have on our agenda for the next meeting outside of a couple items that got bumped? Because I mean, a lot of the discussion today also was on the capital plan.
Right. We don't have
have to be
any,
here
we
for a
don't,
while.
I'm
Or
keeping
sounds like
everything.
everything.
I'm keeping everything off. We can even push Smithwoods further. It's not, it, it can go further into July if necessary. We can really just focus our attention. The one thing that I do want us to touch base on before we close out the meeting, before we hear from the public, is the rec partnership contract update. I just want to share some information on that, but
You're gonna do that tonight.
I'm just gonna give you a very, very quick, it'll be a less than 60 seconds. But if we're feeling that with 2 solid meetings, that we could continue to do this, then we are on track to finish this grant under our current contract.
Our current contract ends at the end of June, is that right?
No, I mean, it's based on a
It's
number of
based on
meetings, a
time,
number of
meeting,
drafts and a
right.
number of deliverables.
Gotcha.
And so it has us, the estimated was to finish in early July.
Okay,
So 2 more meetings would do that. I would be potentially calling a meeting on June 30th. If the board is available for that,
So,
the Tuesday.
so,
We have a 5th Tuesday this month.
so the business meeting.
No, for a business meeting, yeah, to continue working on this. Because we have the unique ability to have we have a 5th, there's a 5th Tuesday. This month, and that would give us some dedicated time to work on this.
so the next 2 meetings then will be the 23rd, and you might call the 30th. That's our 2 meetings.
What would be? All right, I'm not even gonna confuse anything right now. We'll finish this discussion. To that point. So,
Okay, so hate to put you under the gun-ish, it's not a gun. I hate that term, sorry, I'm tired. Hate to put you under the pressure, but we do need to make a decision now about the grant application. If you feel like you can get done in 2 meetings, that puts us well before July 31st.
so I guess what my question was gonna be, but then I held, but now I'm gonna say it. What would be if we are able to complete this in the next 2 meetings, make sure we have discussions, resolutions, we have to go through seeker still. We're still waiting for comments from Ag and Markets and DEC, which are expected the 22nd.
And those are discretionary comments. They
Right.
may not choose to issue comments.
Right, they might not say anything. And so if we make a decision today that we want to move forward with the grant application, if after in next meeting, something big comes up and realize we need another meeting or 2, could we put MRB on hold? At that point, obviously, there's going to be some spend to get this process started. But could we put like,
we have not, so the town board will still have to approve the application. So we may have we'll have some costs sunk for sure, but you still have to approve the gatekeeper resolution to actually apply for the funding.
sure,
and a
But
resolution.
if we
of
started
support for the
them
grant.
now on this grant application, but we don't finish it because we're still working on the comp plan, could we tell them, all right, stop, you spent $3,000,
If they
I
haven't,
recognize that.
so we can amend the resolution, which I would recommend if we're gonna do that, to give final approval to the town attorney, and I could make that embedded in it.
I'm just trying to come up with, I personally think, why not go after it?
Mhm.
But I don't want to be, if something comes up, I want to be able to react to the comp plan potentially.
Sure.
If something big comes up, we're gonna have to address it, and we're not gonna be done by the end of July.
Well, and
But I think it would be worth trying to go after this grant because it's a whole year away. We don't want to lose more momentum that we've got right now.
Well, and we can still choose to
Might be-
apply.
it's
Yeah,
alright.
I get it. You're saying you want to be nimble. We want to be
Yes.
nimble. So I would recommend in that case that we empower the town attorney. I can share this, this recording or whatever. Or pass on the nimbleness of it because, right, we don't want to pay for work we don't need. But we're hedging our bets thinking that we will need the work. Or that's, I think
Yes.
what you're saying. But if something like a huge wrench gets thrown into everything, we would want to be able to hit pause, basically.
Yes.
Some of the things too is that not that all grant materials are duplicatable, but we would have the materials themselves could be a basis for a future grant application also. So it's not throwing everything out. A lot of when you apply for, zoning's not an unusual thing to apply for, right? We can also apply without having a final comp plan. It will reduce our probably competitiveness, but it doesn't necessarily eliminate it. So
These CFAs only come.
yeah. I'm sorry, what?
The binding.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Jessica. Safe travels. Thank you for reminding me.
I'm just worried about losing a year.
Yeah.
Worried about what?
Losing a year.
Oh. This is a big deal. I don't think we should be in any hurry.
But I mean, if we don't have to, we're not in a hurry. I think just
you
the
guys
only
have a
restriction is the July.
lot of effort into it. And I'd hate for you to draw, bad press on yourself for forcing it through is all. And I don't think you're gonna lose anything by kicking the can down the road.
I think there's a lot of people out there are appreciative of the plan.
Oh, absolutely.
We're just not hearing
Yeah.
from them.
Right.
But I don't feel like I'm gonna get pressured.
I don't make decisions based on press.
People
That's-
already say what they want about me.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. I just would like to keep things moving for the town forward. And I want to be able to take the advantage of money. And you're right, we might not get the grant, but why not apply? Like, what do we have to lose with
more money?
Yeah,
Something.
so why not get this started?
But
Yes, it's $6,000. I'm not saying it's not money. But why not try? And we still can be working and finalizing and making this what we want it to be.
I was on the planning board when the last zoning update happened, and we heard from a lot of people who were ticked off, who felt like the town priorities had changed since the comp plan had been adopted. And I do not want to go through that again because we are using data that is just getting older. The comp plan's based on, data from 24, 25. And we're now in 26 and we're already, time behind. And, if we choose to not submit the gatekeeper resolution and pay part or whatever, and I could talk to Nate about building that into it, and that if we hit stop, we stop at that point, not further on. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I think we have to pay contractors, whoever it is, the work they've done, but we don't have to pay for work necessarily that hasn't been accomplished. But if I'm hearing that you think 2 solid meetings feel like on track, that's very different than you want 5 more months. Because that was what the last addendum was, and that was over $13,000 to pay for. So those are very different scales. I'm much more I think it's worth going forward, and if we choose that we're not ready to, we have another vote on this. Right? We don't have to submit the grant application if we feel like the situation has changed.
And we don't have to specify how we're changing the zoning code.
No,
We just have to say that we want to update the zoning code.
To
So I
conform.
think that keeps us
Yes.
still open to any possibilities on what the zoning code could be looking like. But again, it just gets our foot in the door where we could have money in a year.
we add some money in a
Well,
year,
have it
and
in a
then
year.
you're looking at a zoning update process that's probably gonna take 4 years from that
Right.
point.
There's no rushing anything, nothing.
Yeah.
That's 5 years from now on data that's now 2 years old in some cases. So you're talking about 7 years at the fastest. That's not actually fast. I will have multiple children graduated from high school by then, some from college. I mean, it's not 7 years isn't actually fast. So,
Anyway, I don't recommend it. I don't, talking yourself into it. I really don't think we're gonna lose anything, but chilling out, taking you've got a, it's not gonna happen for a while, but we got a budget season coming up.
Well, that's gonna be busy.
Yeah.
Dealing with the comp plan on top of the budget is going to be a headache.
Yeah.
Which is our headache, not everybody else's, and if we have to deal with it, we have to deal with it. Oof.
well, I'm gonna move this resolution. Resolved that the Ulysses Town Board authorizes the town supervisor to sign a contract with MRB Group for not to exceed $6,500 for the preparation of a smart growth comprehensive planning program grant. And this is Casey, I'm adding this, and be it further resolved that the town attorney must first give approval on the grant application, on the contract language with the greatest flexibility possible inserted into it. That is not my most elegant resolution, but I think it reflects what you guys said. Casey, did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, I think next up is approval of the minute.
Rec-
Oh, no, sorry, rec partnership. So I was the lone, because I don't mind being the lone negative vote, no vote, on things. I voted no tonight because I had a meeting before this meeting, on the rec partnership contract. They are proposing an increase of 7%, which is not a maintenance of effort. Maintenance of effort would have been 4.5%. And they're proposing a 7% increase, which would put us, well, it's not that they proposed it, the rec partnership board adopted it, and it would put our share at 13,000 this is for 2027, $13,719, half of which is paid for by the village. So if you have any questions that come to mind right now so the other thing is, and the reason I'm telling you this now is we only have until the end of June to make a decision about whether or not we want to be a partner with them in 2028. So we have to give them 18 months notice. So you can break at any point, but if you've already paid for part of the year, you've already paid for part of the year, you're going to pay for all of the year, not be a partner for half the year. So that doesn't necessarily work. So it really is every June 30th is your last date to let them know that you don't want to be a member for a calendar year and a half after that. So the next town board meeting, I've shared this information with the village. They will be discussing it on their meeting on the 22nd. If you have questions about usage patterns, I'm on the record, I'm a very strong recreation supporter. But what I said to them, and I will say to you very quickly, is that we are going to be under incredible strain this coming year because of EMS costs. The village is putting up a new building and we are going to be hit with financing charges. So in addition to the over $500,000 we spend for EMS services it is, we're gonna be looking at financing charges if we continue to stay. So that's gonna put a lot of strain on our budget. So
Health
everything,
insurance is also.
What?
Health insurance is also expected to go up again. Consortium.
so I think there's gonna be a lot that this budget season's gonna confront about, how we spend money. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention now. And then now we're done. And if you have questions about percentage usage, because again, it's not that 14 something is not. It's not incredibly high. I'm not suggesting that. And they do good programming. And I know we have families that take advantage of it. But I just want to be transparent about what that meeting would like. I supported a maintenance of effort. It's my support, but we had some people who on the board who wanted to go up to 12% increase. And that to me just seems wildly out of keeping with realities in municipal budgeting. But not all of our neighbors pay for ambulance service. Looking at you, City of Ithaca. So, anywho, it was more than 60 seconds, but it's my favorite soapbox. Okay, as a reminder to the public, our public hearing is not closed on the comp plan. You can continue to send comments. We are still waiting from feedback from the county. 239 review, it'll be posted on our website when it's available, as well as discretionary comments, which we may or may not get from Ag and Markets and the DEC. We have gotten comments, soft comments from DEC earlier in the cycle for an earlier draft, and they actually said that they thought it'd be a very competitive draft or very competitive plan when we take it out to go for funding for activities. So that was nice to hear. But maybe they'll give us they may give us more comments. Ag and Markets may give us comments, but they're not required to. Approval of minutes. We had meeting minutes. Trust you can read the dates of upcoming activities. We had approval of minutes. So I'm just move this. Resolved that the Ulysses Town Board approve the meeting minutes as presented from May 26, 2026. It's our regular meeting. Did anybody have any amendments to them?
No.
If you do, we're waiting for Carissa.
So I have a question, and it's kind of a point of order, but with our rules and procedures for meetings, I just want to make sure that as we're presenting things at the meetings, on 5.4 presentation of motions, says new motions offered without the required notice may be debated, but unless there's a super majority to waive these rules, shall be tabled without a vote, and unless withdrawn by the board member making a motion, will automatically be on the agenda for the next regular meeting. So this would apply in the minutes to what we did last week. So have Nate review these. Just want to make sure we're not getting sloppy.
Why don't you email him? Well, you want me to talk to Nate, but I don't need to be a barrier between you and Nate if you want to talk about procedural issues on the board. I'm assuming that has nothing to do with the motion that I just made about the approval of minutes.
Well, in the minutes is what the resolutions, the 59 resolutions that were presented at the meeting. To me, they did not have a super majority.
What's super majority of 4?
It's 4.
And we did get those ahead of the meeting.
Oh, we're not presented prior to.
We had them.
The report was all, that's not what being presented is.
The
By
email-
policy,
The board had the.
communications
Yeah.
notification can be provided by email per our town board organizational meeting. That is our method of communication, and they were provided to you as they already had received them also.
So do we need to hold and get Nate to review this, hold the meeting minutes, vote for the next meeting?
No, those things happen in the meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So. We need a second? I guess.
Do you want to table the minute? I can,
Table.
okay, then you don't even have to table it. I will just withdraw my motion. So that's not even tabling. Okay. Give me my timekeeper because my battery is super low. Yeah. Okay, so we are back full circle to privilege of the floor. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to address town board? You have up to 3 minutes. Please go ahead.
Several things. One, you didn't address at all. The town board vacancy, you were gonna schedule a public hearing. I didn't know that you needed one, but like, what is this process with that? Those applications that's out for a long time and the board is operating without a full board, and so it seems like that should be addressed. Another was, I was surprised to hear that MRV helped with getting the funding for the comp plan update grant. I don't recall that. I thought that Michelle Wright and I wrote that, and the town board and talked about it at several meetings, what the content was and all. It was developed by us and submitted, so maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but I didn't think so. And it goes to show that at that point, the board knew what was happening with that grant before it was just given to them to approve. I think that's a better procedure. I don't know what's quite the word is, sad to hear, sorry to hear some people on board say that they aren't really concerned with some of the things the public is saying if they don't like them. People have come and said the same things over and over, as you heard here, and feel like they're just hitting a brick wall. You should at least acknowledge we are not going to address those things. I'm concerned about seeker. And I guess you're just assuming it's going to be a neg deck and you're not going to take into account any of the environmental concerns that many people have raised repeatedly. If you do and make the justification and the answer to them, that is going to take a while in your 2 meetings to complete everything. So I just feel like you're yet again exemplifying that you really aren't interested in listening to some of the concerns that you're hearing, and you're hearing people who like it, but you don't hear from them. You're hearing people who come every meeting, who come online, who write, who have done this for months. And they at least deserve their concerns to be addressed directly by the board. Yes or no, we're not doing this. We don't think this. We do believe it. And this is why we've heard you and we're changing this. And so I really think that would be appreciated by a lot of people, including me, who I spent, as you say, a lot of time on this, and just to say, well, not really too affected by it, I think is more. So, thank you.
Thank you. I would just clarify that when I said I don't make decisions based on bad press, it's because bad press is not the basis for anything that I do. I consider and have listened and have participated for literally years. And a lot of the things that we have done have been directly because of public feedback. And there have been many members of the public who have actually pointed that out, that this is a very different plan based on public feedback. So when I say I don't concern about bad press, I don't blow with the wind. I have values. And I think the value is listening to the public and making discerning judgments. That is my value. It is not whether or not you trash talk me, because trust me, I've had that from plenty of people. And that's not
trash talking you. And believe me, Caitlin, I have had that happen when I was in your seat, so I get it.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is, I would like to see some of these major concerns. You go back through the written direction and you see repeated, the same things by more than one person. Those should be addressed. Some of them are environmental concerns. Dr. Schneider brought them, others brought them. I think in the seeker review, they should be addressed. Just so that's going to take some time.
I do have proposals that address a lot of what Rebecca said last week.
That's going to take a lot more than 10 minutes in a meeting. So
thank you.
We still haven't decided on resolutions. We haven't decided for sure on the land use map. So that's, if you really seem like you're taking it seriously, I'm hard pressed to see how you're going to do it in 2 meetings.
Thank you.
I do hope the board considers really doing it. Because people put
anybody online?
Is there anybody online who wishes to address us?
Oh, and what about the street appointment?
We addressed that, and so we're gonna schedule, we're gonna talk about it next meeting.
The schedule was to have a public, we talked about this in April, the schedule is to have a public hearing on July 14th. That
Yes.
was discussed in April in our public meeting.
For
We
the
still
town
have,
board?
Yes.
yes, because last time we heard from the public that they wanted a chance to tell us who they think should be appointed to the town board. And we want to give the public a designated period of time to do that. And if we schedule that at our next meeting, that still provides the public with sufficient notice to be able to attend and participate on July 14th. And we discussed that in April. So we're simply following the plan that the town board discussed now a month plus ago. So we will do that. Is there anybody in line or in person who wishes to address the town board in public, privilege of the floor, who hasn't had the opportunity? Okay. So I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So move.
There a second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
Tables need to get moved. What?
Go ahead.